नमस्ते सबको। नमस्ते सबको। नमस्ते सबको। हम लोग जो सब यहाँ पे बैठे हैं वो अपने अपने हैंड्स फ्री निकाल लें और एक लिंक भेजी है उस पे हम लोग ज्वाइन हो जाएं और भाषा जो सिलेक्ट करने की है उसमें हिंदी सिलेक्ट करें तो हमको जो भी बोला जा रहा है वो ट्रांसलेशन मिलेगा। तो सब लोग एक बार ट्राई कर ले, कोई दिक्कत आए तो हमें बताएं। सेटिंग में जाके लैंग्वेज सिलेक्ट करनी है। ओके। नमस्ते, गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। While we are waiting for other guests to come, we just start with connecting ourselves on the link because the simultaneous translation will take place. And for them, they'll select language, English. Okay. So you can join on the link that has been shared and please select English language. Whenever our sisters speak in Hindi or English, if you wish to know the translation, you can hear from there. We are just waiting 5 more minutes for some of our guests who are still completing their breakfast. Namaste and good morning, everyone. Once again, warm welcome to this second day of this deliberations. Let us start the day again with a prayer. And may I request the prayer team to please start with the prayer.
पावकतु सविता पावकतु औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर्रहीम मालिकि यौमिद्दीन इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين सत्य अहिंसा चोरी न करवी जो तू नवसंगरऊ ब्रह्मचार्य ने जाते मेहनत कोई अवेला बड़ा अभय स्वदेशी स्वागत्यागनि सर्वधर्म सत्रघागण महाव्रत समझी नम्रपणे सुखी थाको समता सौ समाचरो सर्वदीनता व्यापो सर्वत्र शांति विसरो शांति હવે આપણે આપણી જગ્યાએથી બધા ઊભા થઈ જઈએ બધા હાથ ઊંચા કરે 1 2 3 હાથ નીચે हाथ ऊपर 1 2 3 हाथ नीचे हाथ ऊपर 1 2 3
Okay. Thank you, Parveen Ben. Once again, namaste and good morning to everyone. Let us begin the day today. We'll start with a brief recap of what we discussed yesterday. Yesterday in the session 1, which was the opening session, it began with a warm welcome from Rima Ben, Director Seva, Jashi Ben, Nitin Bhai, Asthar Ben, Vara Prasad Bhai, Carlo Bhai, and Alessandra Bhai, who joined us online, and Pierre Bhai. We also had a letter read from MS Swaminathan ji, read by Oliver Bhai, and we also had introduction of the workshop from Irish Ben. The session 2 comprised of virtual presentations from Alessandro ji, giving a new equation of SDG 0 and the need to change at the level of people, institutions, and practice of power. Then Dr. K.S. Varaprasad Bhai shared his views on mainstreaming forgotten food and the need for bottom-up research. He was followed by Martina ji, who spoke about what is the manifesto on forgotten food and the need for collective action in policy development. We had a presentation from Kyle Stice, Executive Director PFON, who spoke about breadfruit, a specific forgotten food, and how they have succeeded in bringing it to the mainstream. Session 3 was lessons learned from similar initiatives and creating synthesis between initiatives, in which Carlo Bhai and Rida Bhai from Arinana shared their views and experiences. Later, Dr. Rakesh Bharadwaj ji and Dr. Jai Rana ji shared scientific views and works. Kuldeep Bhai from ICRISAT and Manoj Bhai from World Vegetable Center also shared their experiences on forgotten food. This was later followed by Irish Ben on proposed project overview and Megha Ben on the proposed expected outcome. We then had panel which comprised of farmers, and we heard the voices and the experiences of the farmers on forgotten food, learning about their initiatives, practices, solutions, and recommendations. And during the discussion, challenges related to forgotten food, such as the young generation, the children not liking it, we don't have the market, we don't have processing facilities, etc. were discussed, and solutions were also suggested. That includes support to develop better tastes, quality seeds, minimum price support, reducing processing methodology, providing training and awareness generation, etc. Recommendations also include how to conserve biodiversity to combat climate change and consulting farmers in research. Then we had Parveez Ji, President from World Agricultural Heritage Foundation, who talked on the farmers' rights for sustainable food system. Pardon me if I've missed something. We can have that incorporated in the today's summary, in the 2 days summary. So we start the day today. May I invite Irish Ben to initiate the session 4, which would be the morning's first session.
Yes, thank you, Smita Ben, and good morning, Namaste. So yesterday, as was recapped, by Smita Ben, we really had a very long day, a very informative discussion. We heard many initiatives and various insights on how we can proceed with this collective action. So for today, we are now in session number 4. Building collaboration and partnerships around the innovation action on forgotten food. So I have mentioned yesterday that we started this process as early as 2021. So individual proposals from various institutions, and then we integrated all those proposals into one. And so for today, we will review the proposal. And it's an opportunity for all partners to contribute into that proposal. So basically, the process is not very easy because, of course, each one of the institutions, organizations represented here, they have their own initiative. So I think our goal, as you can see, building collaboration and partnership. So what is it that we want to put forward? The lessons from the past, the gaps that we have seen in the past initiative, how can we strengthen that and bring the experience of each and every one of us into this project design. So for today, we divided the session into 2. So the first session is really reviewing the proposed activities, proposed objectives of the project. But before we go into that, next slide, we will be presenting the scoping study. So we did a mapping of some of the national legal framework and which organization are doing what. So there was an initial mapping done by Dr. Varaprasad, by Oliver, and also contribution from Megha Ben. So we will listen to that, to the scoping study. And then I mentioned also yesterday that we have conducted 4 local level consultations, but it was a very short consultation because it's only for 2 days. But in that consultation, some of you were present, farmers. We also invited representatives from the academic institutions, from the KVKs, and from the government agriculture department as well. So we will present the local level consultation output. So 4 presentations will be done, and we are also inviting sharing from another state, from Maharashtra, from BIFE. So after the 4, they can also present what they are doing in that state, and then after that we will revisit just the objectives of the project, and then the outcomes. And if you have comments, feel free to give that comment. But we will also have the opportunity to give a comment in writing because we don't have much time for really discussing the objectives and the outcomes. After that, After we listen to all these presentations, we will have a breakout session. So we will be using 2 rooms. No? So we have divided all participants into 4 groups. But I will give a more detailed instruction in a while. So, okay. So while waiting for Dr. Varaprasad, so maybe let's show what's on the next slides. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. Okay, just in time, Dr. Varaprasad. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, so in the afternoon, this morning, after the presentations, we will have a World Cafe. So we will be using 2 rooms. So here we will be deliberating on the proposed strategy to develop the catalog of priority forgotten foods. But we have heard from yesterday that maybe it's not just, an ordinary conventional catalog. We can rethink, no? So we have already incorporated those suggestions from yesterday. So think about a knowledge system that is useful, no, to the researchers, to the farmers, and to the other institutions as well. And we will also look at the proposed value chain development process on news, and then we will invite everyone to provide their suggestion on the draft steps. And then campaign marketing, there are already several suggestions from yesterday, so we have noted those down. And then for the advocacy, policy influencing, I think the inputs from our from the representative of institutions here, research institutions, we really need your help, no, in crafting the strategies under advocacy and policy influencing based on your own experience and lessons learned. So with that, I would like to call on Dr. Varaprasad to share with us the result of the scoping study that has been done by the project team. So we have the PowerPoint. Okay. So it's again, it's really just a basic mapping, looking at the existing policies, programs, and then how aligned are we, this collective action, and how we can use the existing policies so that we can really benefit from them. Interesting in the scoping study that there are programs where farmers can already get support, when they are doing when they are working on NUS and forgotten food. So maybe this project can do also awareness raising on the existing programs and policies, because based on the mapping, there are many policies already that we can benefit from.
Good morning to all of you.
Introduce you, Dr. Varaprasad. So yeah, Dr. Varaprasad Kodeboya, he is with APA-ARI, He is the risk mitigation coordinator at APA-ARI and a former director at ICAR, Indian Institute of Oilseed Research, and also lead consultant for the Orissa Millet Mission project being implemented by the Orissa government.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And once again, good morning to all of you. This is a joint effort, what I'm going to present. It's not mine alone. And there is a very good contribution from several partners in this project initially. That includes AFA as well, where they have set the guidelines for the national scoping study and distributed responsibility to various partners from Gujarat, Megha Desai, from Tamil Nadu, our Dr. Oliver King, and from Northeast, our Pius and the Apari, all put together. This is a joint effort that has been made. And I would like to make a brief presentation on national scoping study. And this forgotten foods, if you see my presentation, sometimes you may misunderstand. India is doing excellent. I say misunderstand because we have excellent opportunities, policies, framework, environment, very suitable to forgotten foods. But actual implementation, budget, and then commitment and going forward is we are lagging behind. So it's the best platform where I can present what are all the different policies that are currently most favorable to forgotten foods or NUS, and then how we can use to the advantage of these policies to take it forward. These are the things which I mainly will show. Can I have the presentation? Yeah, okay. So this one, forgotten foods, yesterday Dr. J.C. Rana also pointed out, and some questions were also from the audience, that what is the definition of forgotten foods? Whether you call it as NUS, neglected and underutilized, or you call it forgotten foods, or you call it as future crops for the future organization is also part of this, or potential crops, right? Project we have got in NBPGR, ethnic crops, so many definitions are there. And it cannot be a fixed definition because from the region to region, definition is different. So the same crop can be forgotten food in some area, somewhere it could be a major crop. So it is actually region-based perception, but not the, it's a common definition across the globe cannot be given for this. Definition means perceptions are there, but the same crop can go into the different categories. Yeah, next slide, please. So this is, we have, I think it's, can we just increase the size so that it's visible up from here? Yeah, little more. Yeah, right. Good. Thank you. So we have got, India is very rich. I don't know. The other side of it is 5 crops contribute to 60 to 70% of energy that what we take. Wheat, rice, maize, sorghum. If you put, or maybe in other countries also, if you take cassava or something, not more than 6-7 crops contribute to major energy. Whereas around 7,000 edible species of plants are known. And then out of these, India is fortunate that we cultivate about 500 crops in India, not necessarily for food, whether it is food, fiber, medicine, or for animal fodder, whatever it is, around 500 crops are cultivated in India. The diversity is good, but still the major energy comes from only 5-6 crops. So we have the country has a lot of diversity, not only in just field crops. Many times food security is misinterpreted as the rice, wheat only. Food grains are taken into consideration. Fruit crops, vegetables, and many other crops are not considered as part of food security or food. Sometimes even oilseed crops are also not considered as part of food. Only rice and wheat dominate the food security. And that's how we are limited in our approach towards this food security. Can I have next slide? Closer. Yeah, no, it's okay. Now the forgotten food crops have got lot of value. The lot of values. Yesterday also we were told climate resilient, nutrient dense. Then you have also the biodiversity rich because of these different crops and different varieties. And the most important thing is cultural heritage. Cultural heritage. The seed is actually packed not only with the technologies, but also with culture. Cultural heritage is also there. And climate adaptation, not only that, climate resilience, pest resilience is also important. And then The economic benefits is a notion. If suppose so many good qualities are there, climate resilient bhi hai, nutrient dense bhi hai, economic benefit bhi hai, then why they are not popular? The very immediate next question will come, why they are not popular? So economic benefit is dependent on several factors. It has potential, but not actually happening. That is the major thing. So next, please. Then why this is what I have been telling, the nutritional value, if you see, the ragi has very rich in calcium. And whenever you take through the tablets, its absorption is doubtful. When you take through food, the absorption is guaranteed. So actually supplementing the nutrients through food is the best option, not through external sources. So there is, though different options and convenience is there, the best form of nutrition is this one. So whenever we claim India is really food secure, and we are in a position, yesterday someone was telling that we are exporting more than 30,000 crores worth of rice alone, basmati and non-basmati annually, and 100 million tons of wheat is produced. But okay, the largest population of nutrient insecure people are in India, 800 million people, the women, the children, and then these is a major problem India has got, that we don't have the nutritional security, and that should be the focus. And that is very well pointed out. And one of the answers for nutritional security is the forgotten foods, where they are nutrient dense, what we told. And when we say biodiversity, the main factor of biodiversity is that the number of crops for, see, I never criticized green revolution. That was the need of the day at that point of time. So we have produced, we have become food secure. We have come to the lot of buffer stocks are available. We are exporting, that is good. But a side effect has come, like with a drug side effect. The side effect of green revolution is globally recognized because of the chemical fertilizers that we use. Only 30 to 40% is taken by the plant. Rest is contributed to the water, soil, air. Everything is polluted because of that. So when we need to achieve the target of food security and nutritional security without damaging our environment. That is the, and in that context, the forgotten food crops are the best. The biodiversity does not mean only crops, many other things in the ecosystem. All the components of biodiversity, unless we enrich, will not be able to protect our environment. Cultural heritage is extremely important. We are becoming, we are roots of our culture, we are forgetting many times. And there are many festivals, festival foods, and then religious functions where the forgotten foods are essential part of this cultural heritage. And we lose them, then we lose our culture, then we forget our roots. Our existence is should be questioned in that case. Next, please. Then we have the climate change adaptation, as I told you. And yesterday, I made an acid remark, which I stand by even today. The hundreds of years, the wisdom of our forefathers gave us the varieties of the forgotten foods. They are not actually germplasm. They are not the genetic stocks. They are the actually varieties. They have a name, they have a property, and their food value is known, their medicine value is known, and then we consider that the farmers are not fit to develop a variety. They have, through a process of selection, using plant breeding principles, they have brought out varieties, and we look at all the collections as a genetic stocks and germplasm and only breeder-oriented utilization. So we don't value the wisdom of our forefathers who have developed varieties in the forgotten food crops, and even the varieties, when I say varieties of crops also, which crop to be cultivated, domestications, from the process of domestication to current use. So that kind of the climate change is not a question for them because they are not put into a gene bank at -20. They are actually cultivated and they are exposed to the change of the climate. They are exposed to the wild relatives around them. and they are exposed to the soil nutrition, whatever is available, and the soil health, the microbial world, and they are exposed to the temperature changes there. They are exposed to the climate variations of extreme flood and extreme temperatures. So whatever withstands remains, and then that becomes a variety. So those varieties, by putting a national scale or global scale, if you try to give same variety for the entire India, the approach is wrong. Because your soil is different, your rainfall is different, your temperature is different. So how can you give same variety to all? Then even if it performs, that you are doing a disservice to the local microbial population. So we want only the varieties that are suitable to that particular ecosystem, that particular place. So economic benefit, I have already told you, they have a potential. See, I eat Navara rice because I'm diabetic for last 20 years. And I purchase it at the cost of 200 rupees per kg. If there is a value, there are people who can buy it. 50 rupees is the best quality rice available in the market. I pay 200 and buy it because it has a medicinal value. And when I see the benefit, I continue. If there is no benefit, I will discontinue. So this economic potential, a great potential is there, provided awareness is there, provided branding is there, provided people know that how the benefits will come. So potential is there, but it's not actually accrued. Next, please. Then we have the policies, which national scoping study. This is the main point. And as I already told you, this is a comprehensive presentation of our all 4 partners and also the AFA guided. And based on this, we brought out this national scoping study. Next slide, please. We have a large number of policies in place in India. That is the best part of it, that every policy mentions about the traditional varieties, traditional crops. But what happens to that policy is a point to be discussed further. Yeah, next, please. Then we have the Seed Act. I started with seed. Actually, if there is no seed, there is no crop. Seed is the basis for getting the good productivity. And without seed, there is nothing. But our Seed Act is 1966. And almost for the last 20 years, we have been trying to improve our Seed Act. Seed bill is introduced several times, but still it is not approved. So the applicable Seed Act is only for 1966 variety is still, 66 Act is still applicable currently. And this is one policy which is not aligned to the forgotten food crops till today. Because all the varieties that are released or notified by the government of India or state government are only monitored for the seed quality under this Act. Then what will happen to forgotten food crops? They are not notified. There are no notified varieties. There are farmer varieties. For that, there is no provision exists in the Seed Act 1966, which is being addressed, as I told you yesterday, by the only state in India, that is Odisha. Odisha, we have developed a standard operating procedures for the seed. Agriculture is a state subject. They are fully empowered. Nothing illegal they are doing. And they have approved those standard operating procedures for release, mainstreaming of the traditional varieties and forgotten food crops. So that's how we have systems to identify varieties and to make the quality seed access of these traditional varieties to the farmers through that system in Odisha. Hope many of the other states will copy it and other countries also copy it and take it forward. The regulations are relevant to the forgotten food. Biodiversity Act 2002 is an excellent initiative emanating from the CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity Act, the Convention on Biological Diversity, conservation, sustainable use, and equitable benefit sharing arising out of these things is the key 3 objectives of the Biodiversity Act. And the biodiversity present in India belongs to the country, not to an individual, so you can use it. But if you want to send out of the country, there are regulations which will be effective. But there is a danger for this act also. Amendments are proposed. A joint parliamentary committee is constituted to examine these amendments. If these amendments proposed come into force, the property of the communities is just gone. That's the danger that we are facing, that once these amendments are really accepted, then the community rights anybody can use, and no need to share, even benefit sharing is not implemented. So that's a danger for the National Biodiversity Act. PPVFRA, an excellent initiative. We are very proud of this act, that the India is the first country in the world to bring farmers' rights through an act in India. There is also a problem in this. The problem is there are four categories which are recognized by this act. One is a new variety, and another is extant variety, and then essentially derived variety, and a farmer variety. How can a farmer variety be clubbed with a new variety? Same criteria are applied. Distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability, unless you show in farmer variety, it cannot be registered there. In rice, one person in India collected 20,000 varieties of rice and documented the properties described, and the entire documentation is excellent documentation. Professor Richarya is the one who did that excellent collection. And then what is the total rice varieties registered so far in PPFRA? About 1,700. 20,000 already documented available, registered with PPFRA 1,700. Why? Illogical criteria of distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. Why illogical? A farmer variety is supposed to be diverse. It cannot be uniform. It is inbuilt diversity is there in any farmer variety. How can you apply then uniformity? Stability. These are not newly bred varieties. They're hundreds of years, highly stable already. So you did not actually impose any stability. They are already stable. Only distinctiveness is important, but because of these conditions, we need to influence the policymakers and the acts to change criteria for farmer varieties. But then the one most important thing with Farmers Variety Act is that how can you give ownership to people who have applied? It's a public property. Farmer variety is a property, heritage of India. It is a heritage of India. Several communities in the country can have the ownership. It's not the communities which applied to you. So giving the ownership to the communities who applied for farmer varieties is also not logical. I may sound illogical, but I am fully convinced that it is not logical. So this also needs to be tackled and increased. National agricultural policy, national policy for farmers, all of them, if you read them carefully, forgotten foods, neglected crops, and varieties are mentioned in that act. And they are actually, they deserve a status, and they are there. Next, please. And then we also have National Food Security Act. This is another act which is going with the misconception that now the current generation, because of the last 30, 40 years achievements that we have made, you think that you are actually damaging food security if you promote the forgotten food crops. This is the opinion of the formal sector. This is the opinion of the formal sector. So food security, because if we have, excuse me, Rakesh, if we have 460,000 of actions in NBPGR, not even 30% of them are named as farmer varieties. Name is not there. Number is there. Name is not there because we never directed to do that. We looked at it as an accession for breeders' use, not as a farmer's variety developed. We not documented that. So what is that? Do you think really all the farmer forgotten foods and varieties are low yielding? That's the conception that the current generation has got. Farmer breeders have got. I disagree with that. It cannot perform same way in all the ecosystem, as I already told you. In that particular ecosystem where it has been named and then developed and cultivated, in that ecosystem, it exceeds the released varieties also. And that's the example is OMM I gave for Ragi, 40 to 60% higher yield, only in 4 districts of Orissa, where those varieties which are actually developed in that particular area only perform there. not outside that environment. So they are not low yielding, but they have a specific ecosystem, and we need to find out that in the environment, in the context of natural farming. We must now also understand the context is different. Earlier, all the released varieties, as I told you, excellent work done by agricultural scientists. I'm also one of them. That's why, that is not the reason why I'm saying, but the necessity of food security was established because of these green revolution technologies. But the context has changed. They are all input responsive varieties. You give more water, you give more fertilizer, you give better pesticides, then the yield will come. You don't give them, the yield will not be there. But now in the natural farming, you give none of them, then still they can perform. These varieties can perform. So the context has changed, so evaluation also has to be changed. Yeah. Yeah, GI is mainly trade based.
But that it was nutritionally superior also, and also giving much better yield, and it's niche specific.
Yeah.
That's what.
There are examples in throughout the country that some of these traditional varieties have got GI also because of their performance in that particular area. But GI also is, oh my God, I have only 2 minutes. I think I should move ahead, right? So this, we have the National Vision for Sustainable Agriculture. I think those of you who are interested in the scoping work, we can discuss at the tea time, in the evening, anytime, any question. But I would like to quickly go through now. Yeah, next please, next. The National Nutrition Vision, PKVY, most of you must be knowing Paramparagath Krishi Vikas Yojana, National Mission on Natural Farming, 1st April 2023. It is inaugurated. Manage is the NRO, National Resource Organization. They are implementing this natural farming mission. Natural farming and traditional varieties are linked. Then only the natural farming, you use a hybrid maize, it will not perform because you will not give fertilizers and you will not give water, then it will not perform. So they are linked. National Agrobiodiversity Policy also mentions about this. Next, please. Then we have the National Agricultural Development Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. It's very, very ineffective in implementing, and most of the farmers do not get the crop insurance amount because of several technical reasons. And Food Security Mission. Next, please. I just would like to introduce two different, next slide, please. We have the commitment, national commitment of reducing the greenhouse gases emission to 30%. How can you do that? If you put a hybrid variety, it has to be given fertilizers and pesticides. Then GHG automatically, you cannot commit. So the answer is change the seed. Change the seed to traditional variety, you can give the commitment of GHG. Otherwise, you cannot really commit GHG. Export policy is good. E-markets are available. Export Development Authority is also favorable for the forgotten foods. Minimum support price is not there, but it can be brought, but still it may not be useful. Next, please. Then we have the Adaptation Fund for Climate Change, where the traditional varieties and forgotten foods have a meaningful this thing. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana is also good for irrigation. Soil health card scheme, in my opinion, it is only chemical scheme. Means they talk of NPK and micronutrients. They never talk of microbes present. You show me one health card where microbial population is mentioned there. One card out of several lakhs of cards which are issued. The bulk density and porosity, like physical properties, are not mentioned. The biology is forgotten. Only chemistry, that is NPK and micronutrients, are mentioned in the soil health card, which we need to change it. And all the performance of traditional varieties are linked to the microbiology. Unless they are there, they cannot perform. That is their main food. Next, please. We have the nutritional security. Government has recognized the importance, but we'll see how much the ICAR, when I was director of oilseeds, 25,000 crores is the budget allocated. Used is 10,000 crores. Released is 10,000 crores. less than 50%. Now we are fighting for forgotten foods. Budget allocation, at least some reasonable budget allocation is the most important thing. Yeah, next please. Then we have the ICR, very good, they are doing very well. And in the finance minister's speech this year, they have mentioned about millets, particularly Syriana, and they have given 250 crores to Indian Institute of Millet Research, negligible, and doesn't help much to the farmers directly. It should be 2 zeros more to be added to make it meaningful for the farmers' adoption. Next, please. Then we have the NBPGR. Already you heard my parent organization, 25 years I worked there. So if I criticize, that means for a good reason I do that. And then if I appreciate, it's from the heart. Appreciation is from the heart. NBPGR, an excellent organization where we can do much more than what we are doing now. Next, please. Then National Institute of Nutrition never helps the forgotten food crops. Yeah. Then we have the Department of Agriculture. Next, please. This can be circulated to all the people. They can read by themselves and ask any questions required. I'll quickly go through in 1 or 2 minutes. Next, please. Then Horticulture Board, then Ministry, National Institute of Food Technology. Then we have the IAMR, ICRISAT. We have heard the presentation. Next, please. Then you have the many NGOs, hundreds and thousands of NGOs are there doing very good work. I have mentioned only few. Sahaja Samruddha, DDS, Timbuktu. Next, please. We have the MSRF, Vasan, Seva, Tanal, then Navadanya. Next, please. Doing excellent work. Odisha Millet Vision is a success story. I'm telling since yesterday. There are reasons why it is success. We should copy it. When we copy, the style of functioning, style of organization structure should be seen. And 2,800 crores is allocated by the Odisha state to the Odisha Millet Mission. 2,800 crores. How much Government of India is given to IIMR? Only IIMR, 250 crores. Where is the match? How can you bring the results what Odisha is achieving? We cannot get it. Next, please. Next. And the seed program, under seed village program of Government of India, traditional varieties cannot be grown. I don't know if you don't know, you look at the conditions, only released varieties can be multiplied under seed village program. We addressed that issue, but we are not successful. Next, please. Seed project, next. And I think there is a good news coming in another one slide that I will stop. There is a sorghum project and then ACREP underutilized, which is now potential crops. And there are many international agencies which started work on NUS. Next, please. So several initiatives, and there are several missions, but none of them matches the Odisha Millet Mission. They started almost Karnataka in the same time. Chhattisgarh is there, Gujarat is there, Tamil Nadu is there. Organic policy, and even national organic policy we have, but we need to relook and then make it impact. Next slide is thanks. No, farmers and farmer communities. I am not put government influence. I put that the consumers, the farmers are more important to influence. Not the government comes at the end. When the consumers need, when the farmers need, automatically promotion will happen. Next, please. Yeah, NGOs, next, please. Consumers awareness through media, extremely important. Next, please. Thank you very much. Sorry for being taking more time.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Varaprasad. And I know we have a very long document, and it's really a challenge to present it in few minutes. But we will share all the output of the scoping study with everyone, including the local level consultation result. No? So I think we have seen several, as mentioned by Dr. Varaprasad, several policy and programs that we can really focus on when we do the implementation of the project. So now let's listen to the output of the local consultation in 4 states, and it may be a short presentation from the Maharashtra. So let me first call on Megaben Okay, yes, your team, yeah. So Megaben, the team of Gujarat, so they facilitated the process, but our partners, MSSRF, Dr. Varaprasad A Dialogue, and NESFAS, they came to this local level consultation. So same thing, the team from here, from SEWA, they also attended the local consultation in the other three states, no, and helped in the facilitation. So let's hear from the consultation done in Gujarat. So we have to connect. No,
I speak English. Namaste, good morning everyone. We will start with a brief breakdown of Sevas Agricultural Champion. We are present in 18 states having a membership base of over 2 million women farmer members under Farmer Forum Network. We organize workshop on forgotten food on 24th and 25th January to bring voices of family farmer under leadership of women farmers in Gujarat. In the meeting, Farmer Sister Forum 9 in the meeting, Farmers Forum Sister from 9 districts of Gujarat participated. We also had representative from state government, academia, government, agri extension and research institute, and member of civil society. In the meeting, we had two participatory activity. One, to map the forgotten foods and the reasons why the farmer want to preserve it, as well as the challenges associated with growing that. The second participate activity was done to find the support needed by the farmers to grow forgotten food. The second participate activity was done to find the support needed by the farmers to grow forgotten fruits. Now, Army Van will take.
Hello. Hello. So, good morning, everyone. So, we conducting the workshop in the Modasa district of Gujarat. Hello. Okay. Okay. We conducting the forgotten food crop workshop in the Modasa district of our Gujarat. So, for where 9 district of the farmers, research scientists, policy makers, and KVKs are present in the workshop. So firstly, we divided the 4 groups of the farmer based on their region wise. So we divided Saurashtra and Kutch region, second in Anand and Bodeli districts, third is Mehsana, and fourth is Arvalli districts farmers. So based on the farmer discussion, we catalyze the priority of the forgotten food into the 3 part: for the farmer, consumer, and the for policy. So for the farmer, we considering the awareness of the farmer and farming equipment, technology. Second, for the customer is farmer produce catalog, farmer food produce catalog. And for the policy, for input access to a woman farmer, for a seed ownership support to a farmer, and priority of order from women group of governments. So what happened? Early farmers, after the green revolution, farmer are growing the rice and wheat. But due to the price fluctuation and market risk, they move to the cash crop. But what happened at the time of the harvest, once the produce are ready to harvest, the market price become low and farmer didn't get a more price of their produce. Second, so there are a market risk are there, and second is the climate change. We saw after this before so many years, there are flood and cyclone in the summer. There are monsoon in rain is coming in the summer, also the cold wave into the summer. So once the produce are ready, they to harvest, the climate risk are there and they can't produce enough amount of their production. So they can't even so there are main two challenges. One is the market price and second is the climate risk, and third one is the policy. So there are so many as mentioned Vara Prasad sir, ki there are so many farmers policy are there, but the small and marginal farmer can't reach the link to the policy, because they don't even know about that policies. Second one is government of Gujarat say if the produce is loss up to 30 percentage, so they get a benefit from that. But what when the produce are deteriorate, not the loss but the quality are deteriorate, so farmer don't get enough money from their produce. So what happen, farmer producing the crop, but they can't earn enough money to survive their livelihood. And second, their own children are sleep without the food. So Seva is always approaching that why does farmer remain hungry? They produce the food, but they can't eat can't have enough food for their own eat. So farmer divided finalize the crop of the forgotten fruit based on these three criteria, like the millets, sorghum per millet, some vegetables and some fruits. So they mentioned the what are the challenges they faced, and why they do want to preserve this crop into the mainstream. Also, they are mentioned some next. Also, they are mentioned some vegetable, leafy vegetable, just like Dr. Vara Prasad yesterday talk about it, like some leafy vegetable that grown between the main crop, used and it is used. Farmer identifies weed, but they input their knowledge into that and they use as a leafy vegetable, and they also have some nutritional value, like more fibrous content, folic acid, vitamin A. So they also identify some leafy vegetable. Next, like we show into the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ami Ben. So, like Ami Ben actually and Jashi Ben, they've given us a background as to what was done and during the workshop. And like we've discussed, like how can we take this forward? So many recommendations and suggestions were given by our farmer sisters. For example, for the value addition creation and the market linkages for these forgotten foods and nature utilizing solutions, recommendations were made specially pertaining to the pearl millet and sorghum. And the major recommendations were that we need to provide support to farmers to tie up with Rudy for processing and with Kamla to make different items like the papad, pizzas, dosas, etc. So we do innovations. We bring about value addition to these crops, and like how can we basically how these two, the Rudi and Kamla, they can serve as an important point in actually creating a market linkage and helping farmers get their fair prices, as well as in creating awareness in the market and creating a market space overall. So we already have this Rudi. We already have Rudi, and we started initially with one Kamla center, realizing the importance of it in helping the farmers being able to fetch the proper prices and creating a food systems, procurement systems, food value supply chains on a 100-mile concept, which is given by Ella Ben. We feel that we expanded it to different states in India, as well we've taken it abroad as well. So we have Kamla Center, Kamla-like centers similar to Kamla in Sri Lanka as well. So we feel that it's important that we do this and we expand them. Maybe it's like they can be smaller centers in rural, which only serve dry items and bakery items. We also feel that it also came up that it's important that we conduct training programs for value addition to these forgotten foods. Next slide, please. With regards to creating awareness, campaigns, and marketing, SEWA has already been running a Clean Sky campaign. So we feel that forgotten food campaign can be seamlessly integrated into this Clean Sky campaign. So yesterday also it was discussed towards the ending, the synthesis part, that we need to move to measures that address like yield per cubic meter of water utilized. And this can also be then for the amount of inputs utilized. So if we see that, we feel that these crops are not only climate resilient, and they perform quite well on these parameters as well. The next is that we develop Kamla entrepreneurs, and they can market these products. The other is that we, as discussed already, we can also expand these Rudi centers and Kamla centers for both creation, awareness, and marketing. We can also tap onto online platforms. Yesterday, during the morning session, we had like government official from Gujarat discussing the millet mission. And we feel we can also tap into these and create linkages and support farmers in both campaigning and marketing. We can get seeds and trainings from these mission linkages. Apart from this, we can, we feel that songs, games, plays, posters, voice messages, recipe book, these can serve as an important instruments in creating interest and awareness amongst both the farmers and the consumer groups. Also, we need to develop seed banks, as it was one of the major challenges that came up. So getting the seeds of these forgotten food is difficult for our farmers. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this slide actually focuses on how we plan to tap into Rudi and Kamla and what functions right now they are serving. So if we look, we have district farmers associations at the district level, and we have here organized farmers into clusters. So we do both backward and forward linkages here. So, and the products, these are directly procured through the processing to the procurement centers and are sent to Rudi for processing and packaging. Then through the distributors, we distribute them to both urban centers, and we have our own Rudi Behens who are trained to supply these to local areas. So how essentially it works? So it is like, what is important to basically create a market and awareness is that first we have to create awareness amongst youth. So, and then we need to develop innovative and healthy snacks that cater to the larger palate base of the consumers. So these two functions are essentially being done by Kamla. And these two actions lead to increase in demand in the urban areas. Once there is demand, the farmers are able to fetch fair prices and they are able to access market, and which ultimately leads to more and more farmers taking up cultivation of forgotten foods. And that's an area under cultivation of forgotten foods, and also ensuring the sustainability of our farming systems. It also, once there's demand for urban areas, there's also creation of, and the farmers start growing these crops, there's also increase in demand in the rural areas. And through this cycle, we feel that we can create innovations and we can add value in the supply chain of the forgotten foods. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the major learnings were we felt that there is diversity that already exists in these districts that were participated in the workshop, and they have the knowledge of their past food heritage. With regards to major millet, pearl millet, sorghum, ragi, there is a lot of opportunity we have to integrate it with the traditional knowledge of local varieties. And also it was, one of the suggestions was that we need to conduct foresight analysis as to what has already been lost. So there are varieties for which the seeds are no longer present with the farmers. And what is important for the farmers, which the farmers want to produce, and we can do it at a larger scale, in larger quantity. And then what needs to be grown in smaller quantities in order to preserve the biodiversity and to preserve the gene pool. Next slide, please. The other thing that came up was that there were many recommendations made by the KVK resource person, and such as using videographies and documenting for forgotten foods. And so these are quite practical, we felt, and these can be implemented. The other was that what we feel is quite essential was that the participatory variety selection is very crucial. So just before Dr. Varaprasad said, how crucial it is that we don't consider this diversity as just a gene pool. It is we need to give the proper credit to these farmers, and they are the custodians of knowledge. So we used to involve them in this process. The third was that how Kamla and Rudy can serve as a sort of a model, and how to create local economy based on local foods. So at Kamla, we are already doing it. So we have the recipes, both fresh and dry snacks. So, and these are adaptable. These are both modern and traditional recipes, and that cater to the wider palate. So that can be tapped into. The next slide, please. The other is that there needs to be pilots to see how the lesser known varieties like Krishna Kamod, which is one of the varieties which is very fragrant, grown in Gujarat, the black and red rice, and the millets like Kodri, and non-good forest produce like Mahua in Shironji. And also the diverse greens, which are essentially weeds many a time in this in these agri-systems. They can be integrated. How can they be integrated to diversify the product basket of Kamla? And lastly, for pan-India scale, we need to develop localized mechanism to identify where we are now. That is, essentially, we need a baseline to start with, and then demonstrate the pilot. And then from these pilots, we can find the solutions, and we can upscale these initiatives. And when we say these are initiative and not the crops, because as already pointed out by Dr. Varaprasad, so the crops are very localized and they perform best in the localized. So these are initiatives that we talk about. And next slide, please. So we already had, just before this session, we had a very good background regarding the policy scenario in India. So I will not go there. I'll just focus on the important recommendations and suggestions regarding the policy. So it came up that there is a need for input access of seed and support to women farmers for millets and sorghum. There is a need for seed ownership support to women farmers to form seed bank for sorghum, millet, kang, for prioritizing of orders from women's group of government contracts for the bakery and millets and sorghum. So we feel that women should also be a focus when we are carrying out this national mission of, the millet mission and the other supporting policies that are there. So that is from us. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Joshi Ben, Army Ben, and Minakshi Ben. So the local level consultation is very rich, and we will also share the full documentation with all the partners after this workshop. So some of the activities suggested there, some of them we already incorporated into the draft proposal. So there's so much really to build on, no, so much going on. There are established models that maybe can be further adapted in the other states. So thank you so much. So let's move on to the output from Meghalaya. So Dr. Piyush, please go ahead.
Hello, good morning. Can you share the screen, please? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Jifar, AFA, APARI, SEVA, MSSRF, the Alliance for Biodiversity and SEAT for this wonderful opportunity. And this has really strengthened our mission where we have been doing for the last decade now to revive, promote, and defend our local food systems. So I'm going to share to you the results of the local consultation that took place in Shillong, Meghalaya. Can you go to the next slide, please? The workshop took place in Shillong for a period of 2 days. We saw an active participation from different stakeholders, farmers, project partners, government, private institution, and including also, the partner organizations. So we followed a certain procedure in conducting the workshop where we look into the following key areas, like the catalog of priority crops, look into the innovation aspect as well, and then find out the sort of value addition, market linkages, advocacy, and policy work, campaign, communication, and marketing strategy when whatever the others have done. And then lastly, then we also look into the getting the feedback from the participant, including the committees who came and participated in that workshop. Then can you go to the next slide, please? So let me just go one by one here. While doing this exercise, we had limited time as we have so much to list down, because the average food plan for per village in the place where we come from is more than 300. So therefore, doing the priority became such a big challenge as it requires a thorough discussion and reflection. So let me just give you a few examples here. I highlighted the, in red. The story of millet is the same across the communities. People had survived on this in the past. It has also got extra value because of the health and climate benefits. But cleaning is still a big challenge, as you can see there. In the place where we come from, the issue of human-animal conflict is very much our concern. For example, during the daytime even, especially during nighttime, elephant comes and destroy our shifting cultivation fields. Can you go to the next slide, please? Besides that, besides other food crops, there has been so much talk about the importance of bringing back the wild edible plants. Why? Because they are nutritious, clean, and also they have got medicinal value. So the challenge here is to get young people on board. In few communities, because of monocropping, there is a declining of forest cover. So assessing these wild edible plants has become a big problem, for some of the communities then. So can you go to the next slide, please? When it comes to the innovation aspect, now farmers have, through different programs, have exposed to new ideas. For example, with the chef involvement, they have tickled the mindset of our local cooks, where they have come out, with innovative recipes, like, for example, like the millet tea, which we never heard about, millet wine. So this has created an interest among different organizations to further collaborate to do further research with our farmers. For example, the Indian Institute of Hotel Management, they did a collaboration with us, and then they developed around 75 millet recipes on just one day. So I think that this, I'm just thinking about millet. If we do much more of this, there will be like other kind of things that we can do into the these crops then. Next slide, please. Similarly, next, yeah. Similarly, for wild edibles, now we see farmers have tried to domesticate in kitchen gardens. In terms of research, farmers have come forward to raise a number of questions to us. For example, the issue of the nutritional analysis. Majority of the research that have been done just being kept, in the university or in the research stations. So there are some few cases where we dig into those research papers and then try, to simplify those and then share it back to the community. It has brought a lot of benefits, when it comes, to the nutritional analysis. So I feel that, there is so much scope, that can be done here. Next. In terms of value addition and the market linkages, we notice different local entrepreneurs, organizations have come forward to add value to such products. Places like farmers market, the local, which we call in our local dialect, Meramau means Mother Earth Cafe, the school meal procurement that we are doing right now becomes such a good marketing strategies to promote such crops. Next slide, please. Next, yeah, next. Yeah. So maybe I will not go into the detail of this slide because yesterday my colleague Dr. Melody had already shared, yesterday on this aspect. We'll just go straight to the next slide then. Okay. So in terms of campaigns, communication, and marketing, local organizations have came out with innovative ideas. For example, in the place where we come from, a millet we call cry. So we are saying no woman, no cry. So this is the language that we use. So we take from the Boney M album. I think that song is quite popular. No woman, no cry. So this is the campaign that we use there. And then we produce a lot of publication like the Agrobiology book, the recipe book, and then we do a lot of innovative work also in terms of in the Mother Earth Cafe then. So my colleague here who came along with me, Mr. Kerlang, along with his friend, they travel from one village to the other village to source these crops and do the processing. They even train, the local young people at the village level. This has really encouraged, the livelihood, in those communities. The demand is quite high, whereby not just within the village, but it has also gone through into the local market as well. So I think this is a good sign, doing local action at the community level, and then it has a ripple effect into the different villages. Then we are also doing a lot of work in terms of the cultural thing. For example, we have a very popular dance on millet called Shat Bom Krai, which everyone as a family members, neighbors, we come together during the harvest, we dance together. And I think that also become such a good platform for us where we do the rhyme, we sing a song. Like yesterday, one of my colleagues, he performed a special rhyme. So such kind of a thing also becomes such an important when we talk about, this communication. How do we make use of the local communications and the strategy that we have? Next. Then at the end of the session, we spend few hours to get feedbacks from the participants. So here are some of the issues which can help us, for reflection. Maybe after this, because we are going to split into 4 different groups. This could also, be some of the issues that we can reflect upon. So one of the issue that came out very strongly is that the word forgotten or slash news doesn't go well with the communities because but when we talk about traditional or indigenous food, make them feel more comfortable. That's how the issue came about then. So second, then coming from a rich dense area, we need more time to interact with the communities in order to be able to capture the diversity that we have. And then everyone also felt that any technology developed, it has to be culturally sensitive, farmer friendly, and also it has to be economic viable. So there has been also a suggestion from the participant that we need a gene bank, for example, to preserve crops for future use. For example, in the place where I come from, Cherrapunji, we received the highest rainfall on planet, but during April we didn't receive rain, so it has really affected the agriculture that area. So maybe having this kind of gene bank or seed bank will really help to prevent from this kind of climate shocks. And then there has been a talk also in terms of explore the possibility of certification of the certification of this local food crops, because this will give good access market, because at the moment certification recognize only the food crops that grows in the farm, but what about the wild edible plants? And maybe we can think about that then. So we have also done this people's biodiversity register. So we feel that this could be a good methodology also to capture and identify such crops, and also to create the awareness among the communities. And then we feel that this initiative is an important opportunity for us where we can elaborate or we can strengthen the work across the globe in terms of the nutrition, the climate change, and the nature-based solutions. So lastly, then everyone who attended the workshop felt the need that to sensitize to the other potential individuals and organizations, so that this work can be upscaled to a large extent. Then, so I would like to end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Piyush, for that comprehensive, even in a short time, sharing what has transpired. And again, I think this is a reminder that there's really so much to build on, initiative to learn from. So thank you. Let's hear from the Odisha consultation. So the draft proposal, we will share also the link after the workshop, the full document, which has somehow integrated the suggestions from the local level consultation. But we have the project brief. Did you get the project brief? So we have a local translation in Gujarati and English. So if you don't have a copy of the project description, we have copies here at the table. So go ahead, Prashant.
Good morning to all. Can I have the slides here? Yeah. So the local level consultation in Odisha, it was conducted in Biju Patnaik Tribal Agrobiotech Center of MSSR Regional Center at Jaipur. It was held in 18 to 19 January 2023. And the output of this consultation I'm going to present here. Next slide, please. The participants, there are participants from farmers from 3 different districts of tribal districts of Odisha. That is all are aspirational districts like Koraput, Malkangiri, and Rayagada. And other participants like stakeholders like representation from state government, central university, dietitians, entrepreneurs, and also representative from APARI, Dr. Baraprasad sir was there, and A Dialogue, Seva, and NESPAS. All are there. Total, there are 64 participants. Next slide, please. So the methodology we followed, whatever that was the given methodology, that is pre-listing, listing of challenges, then prioritize list of crops, current value chain, advocacy and policy influencing, campaign communications and marketing, then reflections from the stakeholders and roundtable plenary session. These are the methodology we followed. Next slide, please. So coming to the output one, that is catalog of priority forgotten foods based on the priorities of farmers. We had 2 breakup groups, and this is the compiled report. And out of 2 breakup groups, lots of varieties are listed, forgotten food varieties, and out of that, some of the varieties they prioritized based on their importance. They want to revive it. So like little millet, one variety that is Machli Shwa, it is a very good market value, and the consumption of millet, it is also increased day by day. And they want to include it for the further processing. And it has, as the participant told, it has some medicinal properties, and it is a very short duration variety, and it is also giving good yield. So they want to revive it because it is in the threatening stage. So challenges they faced, that good quality seeds are not available, and unavailability of processing facilities, because manual processing of little millet is very difficult, very tedious, because women only involved in the process. So it is drudgery pun. So they want processing facilities, and there is threats of promotion of eucalyptus and other cash crops. So another threat is marketing. Marketing is also not available, because there is no mandi, no MSP system, so there is distress sale. Like that, other millets, Mami Shwa and Guruji Shwa, those they listed. The same to the Fustel millet, there is a red Congo, in Odia it is Congo, but Fustel millet, and it is also very nutritious and healthy and a unique one. So they want to retain this and revive this variety, because again, the challenge is getting of good seeds, and suitable land is also a problem nowadays, because lands are also diverted to other cash crops. So again, marketing, and this varieties also they use in their cultural festivals for worship also. So finger millet, there are lots of finger millet varieties, more than 50 varieties identified. And out of that, they shortlisted 3 varieties prioritized. Mami Mandia, Sitade, and Badatara. These are the 3 varieties they prioritized. And both, all the varieties, the reason why they prioritize that short duration and having good taste, and these varieties are very much resistant to pest and diseases, and they are also giving good yield. Some of the varieties recently we had also characterization in with the Central University with the collaborative research program. and some of the varieties are found very nutritious compared to improved varieties, and protein content and other characters are high than other varieties. So they want to revive these varieties. Then sorghum, there is a traditional sorghum variety. That variety, it is reduced due to there are problem as bird seeding, because it is a droopy type and birds can sit easily on the stem and they can eat. So that is the major threat, but it is very the yield is good, and but varieties they want to revive this variety because of it has good taste. Next slide, please. Likewise, rice varieties. There are lots of rice varieties available in the region, and they prioritize some of the varieties. Like one variety, I can give example, that is Umriya Chodi. That variety is it is best for popped and platter rice, and it gives good yield. And also this variety they used in their cultural festivals as a recipe. So they want to revive this variety again. And other varieties like Hertzgram, rice bean, broad bean, yam, taro. I am not going in detail. Many varieties they have prioritized to revive it. Next slide, please. So coming to the output two, it is the based on the output one. What are the prioritized varieties they list, and in this what is the farmers' innovation, and another thing is farmers and researchers innovation and practices. Farmers' innovation, they used to follow, that is they used to follow summer plowing, field cleaning, bond cleaning, and because they want to control pest and diseases through this process. So this is the practice they used to follow year long. And there are some cultural events they used to observe, that is also helping in integrated pest management system. There is like a recently they observed one during April, they used to observe this festival, Bali Jatra. This festival is also meant for seed germination test, because that is their cultural system, to know how it is germinating and what is the percentage of germination. So that is there in their cultural practice. They used to test the seed germination. And they have the ITK on seed preservation techniques. Lots of techniques they used to follow to preserve the seeds, and which will not destroy. And they follow mixed cropping system to ensure crop insurance, because always there is a talk about climate change, everything. So that is the crop insurance system. They used to follow 4 to 5 varieties of seeds they mix and cultivate together. And there is scattered harvesting system. So it addresses the food sovereignty in a lean period. Usually there is a lean period of 5 to 6 months. So this mixed cropping system address that food security. Then they prepare country liquors from millet and rice, millet and many culinary food items from that. These are their innovations, and special traditional food dishes also they prepare during their festivals. Coming to farmers and the researchers innovation, we have conducted many participatory plant breeding process on rice as well as in millet also. Then participatory conservation system, participatory varietal selection, all those processes we are following since more than 25 years with the community. Then establishment of community gene seed grain banks. This is a continuum, and many farmers are conserving those varieties in their own field gene banks. And every year they are replicating it and keeping the seeds in the seed bank. Then establishment of millet processing units we have established in many areas, and still more processing units are also required to be established to continue it. And participatory value chain development is another aspect we need to focus on. Then introduction of alternative seed system model, that is a model we have followed, how the seed can be available with the farmers. The farmers will be involved in seeds production, and that can be used, and they can also cater those seeds to other farmers. And there are other models we have developed, that is farming system for nutrition, integrated farming system models. These are the some of the models we have a partner with the government of Odisha in some of the projects. Then another aspect is every village a bio village program. This program is specifically following the sustainable agricultural practices, and this is a very unique program to address sustainable development goals of especially 1 and 2. Then introduction of new agricultural technologies or methodology like a system of millet intensification, line transplanting, intercropping, and many drought reduction tools are also used. Next slide, please. So coming to the output 3, value addition and creation of market linkages for forgotten foods or nuts crop. Suppose we have taken finger millet or little millet, starting from production, primary processing, then procurement, then fixing up a minimum support price and selling through mandi. And it also the value addition of a product. We have farmers producer organizations and some producer groups. From the producer groups, they used to collect materials from farmers and process it and value add it, and it is being branded in the name of farmers producer company. There are 4 farmers producer companies established in that brand name, and Odisha Rural Marketing Agency is there. They are helping in branding, and there is a good branding quality, and those materials are now available in online Amazon also. So like millet, little millet, finger millet, even aromatic rice of Kalajira, those varieties are now available in different online markets. So farmers are getting good value from that. So this is the marketing strategy followed, like this Kalajira also that is followed in that. So promotion and consumption of traditional foods by developing new value-added products is also an important area they focused on. Then coming to the next slide, please. So coming to the output 4, that is advocacy and policy influencing. In that, some of the identified actions and the revival of forgotten food crops came from the floor. That is exploration of local land races of paddy, millets, pulses, wild edible fruits, and tubers. So those exploration also need to be done. We have done exploration in different years. Still, it should be done because there are many varieties available with the farmers. Before it is extinct, so you have to explore it. And documentation of ITK, promising varieties and their characters, we need to do. Then we should focus on, there is efforts in situ conservation and also situ on-farm conservation system. Then obviously establishment of a community gene seed grain bank need to be expanded. Then strengthening traditional seed distribution system need to be in focus because they have the traditional seed distribution system, the barter system they have, it still exists. So that is also helping the farmers. Then research knowledge should be reflected and transferred back to the community, because our research knowledge, it is always we are keeping with us. So that should come to the community. Like there is evidence of Niger, that is evidence-based validation have done in Niger. Like that, we have to do in millets and other crops. Value addition and industrial linkages need to be done, and the registration and release of land races, because already Dr. Baraprasad highlighted this today morning, and the sustainable harvesting of forgotten food crops. Next slide, please. Coming to the campaign communications and marketing, there are some recommendations. We are giving emphasis to local biodiversity with community partnerships and civil society organizations. Then creating awareness among the rural and urban communities regarding the benefits that we are focusing. Yes, sure. So these are the major campaigning required, and there is one suggestion campaign approach, that is one cluster, one product approach, that will help to focus the variety. Then the ownership of the product should be at different level, that like local level, regional level, national level. Then popularization of products in social media and other media platforms. Next slide, please. Coming to the knowledge exchange, there was a roundtable plenary session. In that, some of the points noted in that plenary session, like introduction of high value cash crop is also a threat to the land races. Then young generation, they are losing interest in local crops because of low yield, and there is no market opportunities. So many difficulties are there. Then low irrigation facilities also. Mandi facility for all the nuts crops is required. Lack of knowledge on marketing system is also one of the problem. Then the restriction on sale of local products in government mandi, that is also another challenge. Then also products procurement and supply by the farmers producer company, that should be supported with the financial aids. Then need of millet de-husking, pulverizing mills and processing units in every village required. Next slide, please. So institutional partnership scopes are there. Suppose GeoAnjo research institution partnership should be built up. And then testing up scientific efficacy and characterization need to be done, and participation in policy making in different government programs, sensitizing people on nutrition value, then wider publication of this NAS or forgotten food crops. There is also scope of more on R&D institutions that they can involve in this process. Next slide, please. Then institutional partner environment in the state, also policy environment. We have, as already Dr. Parasar told, Odisha government, they have set up many policies under Odisha Millet Mission. So that is coming gradually coming in good way to help the farmers. So they are trying to add millets in MDM, and also they have lobby and advocacy in department levels, and they have provision of incentives towards farmers, and that need to be for conservation, that need to be thought of how they can provide financial aids to the custodian farmers. Then strengthen entrepreneurial development skill of both women and youth need to be done. Then preparation of a roadmap for safeguarding the gas status of Koraput, because the Koraput being declared as a GIHS heritage system in 2012, but many things needs to be done at government level, but it is not yet in the focus. Then addition of forgotten foods in the MDML is also there. Then the key recommendations from stakeholders WhatsApp, that is registration and release of land races, threshing floor and storage facility at local level, availability of quality seed materials, that was also major criteria they mentioned. And then sensitizing people on nutritional value of various forgotten foods. And we need to campaign observe nutrition week per month, and that should be a campaign on local to global. That was the concept we have to follow. Next slide, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much, Prashant, for again that comprehensive discussion. I can see that some of the recommendation from yesterday, you've already like some of them has been also incorporated. So there is one question from the floor. So yes, go ahead, Pooja.
Hello. Hello and good morning, everyone. I am Pooja Moitro. So I'll be talking on behalf of my organization, Institute for Motivating Self-Employment. And we work in West Bengal, and we also work in collaboration with different organizations. So I'll just go straight to my question. So I was looking forward to the presentations from Orissa. There are two excellent deliberations from Orissa. So in Orissa, IMSA works with East Coast Fish Workers Union, so which is also a part of the World Forum of Fish Harvesters and Fish Workers. We are talking about forgotten foods. So India has 9 coastal states and 4 union territories in coastal areas. And I have been patiently waiting since yesterday for some presentation to include fisheries. So only one presentation included it, and that was from Mr. Cry. But sadly, there was no data available. I would like to add here that fish is a very nutritious food. We have omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, phosphate, calcium, magnesium, iron, you name it, we have it. But again, fisheries are also included in the forgotten food. If this year is the year of millet, last year was the year of artisanal fisheries. And a huge number of small-scale fishers are engaged in this Indian economy, and they contribute to the GDP. So I would request all of you, even in the project brief, to kindly include the fisheries sector too, because millets and crops, these are a part of the diet. But what to have with them? What to have with the millets? We have fishes. And fish is a perishable product. So that even more increases the point that we need to focus more. Even if our fishers go ahead and catch the fishes, people won't buy it and they have nothing to store. If I talk about the small fisheries, they do not have the cold storage facility. They have the maximum they have is a thermocol box. So I guess it's a topic that I would leave to the panel to discuss over tea and coffee in the break, and we shall discuss it further in the World Cafe. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Pooja. So yes, I think that's a very important point to raise on which other, which other food group, or sector should we engage in this collective action. Thank you, and thank you for coming also to this workshop. So one comment, question. Okay, so last question, and then we move on to the next.
Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon. We're in the cusp. This is addressed to Apari. I saw in your process design that you're focusing a lot on the center having to, make changes or bring about further action points. But the thing is, in 2018, there was a gazetted notification for changing the nomenclature of certain coarse grains, millets known as coarse grains, to nutri cereals. It was codified and mandated that all of your minor millets, along with pseudo cereals, need to be brought into your public distribution system. But there was no mechanism, no teeth to that gazetted notification because it comes from the center and it's a state subject. Agriculture is a state subject. Would Apari consider doing another process design where you bring certain states into the fold and therefore create a ratchet effect in other states by setting a benchmark in certain states? What are your viewpoints on that?
So, subject, the agriculture is a state subject, but we have all the overreaching acts coming from the nation, which cannot be conflicted by the state level. Whatever the different policies and acts that I listed, all the state policies have to be aligned, should not be outside of those policies. So general policy of agriculture, whether it is seed, Seed Act says, unless the state central government representative is there in the state varietal release committee, it is not legal. So the Seed Act is from the center, but the variety is released from state also, but it has to align with the national act. But your point is very well taken. We have to work with the states, set an example and spread it. As in case of OMM, I repeatedly said that that's the one state which has come forward, and we have submitted a document, as you rightly said, to the central government, PAC, and to the National Rainfed Authority. that there is nothing illegal to promote traditional varieties and forgotten foods. Existing policy framework is enough to accept it, but we need only concurrence and promotion from the central government so that all state governments can do it. Already being done under PKVY, BPKP, Natural Farming Mission, they're doing it. But there is no sanctity or definition of traditional varieties in any of the acts that I mentioned. Farmers' variety is defined, then the land races are defined in Biodiversity Act, farmers' varieties in PPFR Act, but traditional variety and forgotten foods are not defined nor included in any of the policies. So we submitted a proposal to the government that it is be considered and let it be not be property of a few people who applied for registration, let it be public domain and still moved forward through states. It's a good suggestion. Definitely, I will carry forward the message to APARI. Thank you.
From a standpoint of policies, sir, it's states that started the work on millets. The center did not. But then now the center is taking over from what states are doing, which is why I'm putting this point forward. I see where you're coming from a legislation standpoint, but from a policy and implementation standpoint, it has started from states. You see, and maybe the thing can go to seeds also is very, very contentious at the moment, because as they rightly said, I mean, all of them are sitting with cultivars that they want to work with. But the thing, if it doesn't fit within the ICAR framework, then otherwise they're not going to get the support mechanisms that they're getting. Because I just believe that, we are part of a forum over here right now where we could bring a change right at the source level, which is why I'm trying to deliberate on this with you. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
so I think there will be more discussion during the breakout when we discuss strategic actions, the policy, and then on doing the action research at the value chain level, and also doing the campaign. So there will be more deliberation on the right way forward, building on what's been done in the analysis of policies and also the local level consultation. So we move on first to the next presentation, and then we take in more questions later.
Good morning. First of all, let me thank the GFAR, APARI and AFA for creating enabling environment for forgotten foods and crops in the country. And it has been a wonderful experience last 2 years working with the team and developing and reaching out up to this level. So we had this community consultation and stakeholder consultation in Tamil Nadu in January, the late January, we conducted there. And sir, you can move to the next slide. So we had a team of people representing different walks of life. They are passionate and they have been working on the NUS crops and diversity. And we had farmers representing from across Tamil Nadu, around 7 districts. People have participated, and including the artisanal fishing community also. And there was a representation from Tamil Nadu Fishery University as well. And the representation from State Biodiversity Board and Krishi Vigyan Kendra, and also the Culinary Science Institutes and the private sector, Bond Technology. And also there are, our co-partners, SEWA and NESFAS, they have all participated. So what we have done little different there, I had an opportunity to visit all the 4 locations and interacted with teams. So in Tamil Nadu, we had ecosystem-based, participation. People represent from hills, rainfed regions, and also the riverine regions, and also in the coastal ecosystem as well. So there were representation of both men and women, aged and young youth. So all sort of a combination that we had, and we had an interaction with them. And all the processes, what our colleagues, they have narrated the same kind of a processes that we have followed. And we had 4 teams worked on cataloging and understanding farmers' innovation and the co-innovation processes and enabling environment in terms of policy and administration and so on. And what is happening with the level playing ground in terms of private partnership and so on. We could be able to, connect to those aspects of it. Move to the next slide, please. So what we have actually done is that the kind of, in a matter of 2 days time, we could be able to only do the free listing, and to some extent the ITK, intellectual on the farmers knowledge system, we could be able to, document it. And primarily we wanted to understand what is the reason for farmers to cultivate and what is the reason for farmers to abandon. These are the two aspects that we have actually tried to document. And the recommendation for prioritization. Moving to the next slide. That will indicate us, this is in the case of hill region, where most of the farmers, they drawn from Kolli Hills, is a part of Eastern Ghats, they have drawn. If you look at the slide, they could be able to list it so many under different categories: cereals, millets, pulses, roots and tubers, greens, and so on. And they could be able to prioritize a number of. If you look at the prioritization category, mostly it is related to adaptive preferences, culinary preferences, health preferences, and to some extent even curative preferences of the farmers. Not interestingly, in the context of NUS, they did not actually look at a productivity as a criteria, a valid criteria, rather than, it is most of the farmers are family farmers, they are smallholders, their terrains are actually very unique, and it is related, always they related to the climate and so on. So, that the productivity is a factor, they keep it, but along with that, there are other, categorization, they have done it. So these are the farmers' criteria for prioritization of the chosen variety for further valorization or promotion or revival. Moving to the next slide, please. So we have produced around 39-page document in this, and for example, this is from hilly region. In case of millet itself, there are so many land races. So here I wanted to highlight, farmers do have a lot of land races which is connected to their local ecology, their family farming system, the kind of animal husbandry that they have, and which is suitable for their culinary preferences, the cultural preferences. So they wanted to actually revive it back. If you look at the why they want to revive, so mostly it is connected to, first of all, food, and it is related to taste, and then it should be suitable for the soil and the climatic condition over there. So these are again and again that has been repeating one, and we can move to the next one, and we can move to the next slide. Similar exercise were done also in the case of rainfed plains, and we could see one difference, major striking difference, is that the riverine region, the people represented from the riverine region, they had limited diversity, and people who came from the rainfed region, they had lot of diversity, as well as in the people come from hilly region. That's the major striking difference that we could witness during the workshop. So we in terms of prioritization within that the collective action what we had, we wanted to actually restrict to the knowledge system from hilly region as well as from the rainfed region. And we had cataloging done with the fishery sector also. That will be also part of our processes. We can definitely share with you. And we can move to the next slide. Similar thing has been done for rainfed region also. If you look at it, in case of rainfed, I wanted to highlight here, so many diversity of paddy within Orissa Sativa. There are so many varieties. Now people are trying to valorize it, but it is happening in the context of organic farming. Many of them are connected to niche markets. So they wants to revive it back, but they always feel that there is no enough support system for such unique varieties. And they have actually listed more than 30-35 varieties in the region they come from. Even the varieties from the coastal belt varieties from the rainfed region. There are so many varieties of the paddy. They could be able to connect to the health system, medicinal properties, and the even there are varieties little longer duration, but however they wants to have it back because it has got multiple benefit like fodder benefit and other benefits and so on. So they wanted to revive it back. So they could be able to list all these things. Next one. And some pictures you wanted to probably see here, the red rice and the black rice, we call it as kauni, and Mapulai Samba and the red rice. These are the land races of millets. The farmers, they wants to actually revive it back in a large scale. But however, in the past 15 years, with the participation of participatory research, they could be able to revive it back. But here they express the challenges of scaling it up, where they connect that the seed system, community-based seed system should be there to revive it, where the government investment, the policy environment should be there for the community. What probably, Vikram was just highlighting. The land race specific, the farmers specific seed system should be there to revive it back. Next one. And I wanted to skip these two slides. This is related to the other millets, major millets in the plains. And this is also, there are other horse gram, there are other crops are also now neglected much. They want to revive it back. Next one. And just wanted to spend few minutes on farmers' innovation and knowledge system. During the conversation, we could witness that farmer, they have kind of a different knowledge system. Can we move to the next one? Number one, they feel that it is not all farmers are knowledgeable. There are custodian farmers, and mostly they are aged. Their knowledge is eroding. And if you wanted to have forgotten crops to be revived, first of all, we need to recognize custodian farmers of both men and women that they have expressed. Next one, please. And the other aspect is that it is not the crop per se, it is a system per se. For instance, they have indicated a mixed farming system is a place where you can learn a lot. Because one fine example, this is a mixed farming system from Kolli Hills, where people have 6 species, and they know about the seed rate, where to sow, what is the window of sowing, and what would be the harvest potential of small parcels, and how this is actually helping in terms of building resilience. Even one crop fails, the other crop will support their food security. So it is not the crop per se they wanted to revive. It is a system per se they wanted to actually revive. That is what the farmers, they sent a message. Particularly if women, they express this. Because when we talk about forgotten food, they see this is not that a commercial kind of a crop, but it helps in terms of food and nutrition security that helps them. Next one, please. And here you see, I've just tried to pull some of the pictorial representation, in terms of selection of variety and, preparation of local recipes, and also pre-cleaning and processing, and also the hand pounding and processing. These are the farmers' innovation, and they expressed different kinds of method that helps a lot since time immemorial in terms of conserving, retaining, and also sharing with the fellow farmers in agroecologies. So this kind of practices really helps. Next one, please. And moving on to the current practices in terms of valorization, there are list of activities they have expressed that help them in terms of revival. Next one. Here, the farmers from Kolli Hills, they could be able to revive millets, intra-specific land races of millets. They also shared, that was opportunity to share with other fellow farmers who came from other districts. It was a kind of a sharing experience with others also. So the best practices, they express that we need to identify custodian farmers of elderly people and youth. And next one. And also the documentation. Here we are talking about cataloging. In case of cataloging, they feel that the community biodiversity register and community seed bank, and also linking with the National Gene Bank. These are the best practices. The representation from Tamil Nadu Agriculture, Dr. Nirmala was there. They said, there should be a link between the farmers to the local seed system and the national seed system. That should be there. Next one. And the farmers should be encouraged to save seeds and put it in the the seed bank, local seed bank. That should encourage in terms of sharing with the communities and valorizing the local news crop into scale. This is an important critical way of doing it on farm. Next one. And in participatory varietal selection, we have been talking about the farmers. They said that they should be involved from the day one to select best preferred variety which is suitable to the current environmental condition, because there is a lot of change also, they said. So time to time, that should be done. It is not one-time exercise. Many contexts, the PVS is done once, and then the selected varieties are taken up. They said that it should be done at least periodically. Then the farmer will have choices because of the changing precipitation and the weather pattern. There is a need for periodical evaluation involving the communities. Next one. And appropriate technology. Many of the farmers, not only for millets, for other minor crops, horse gram, even for paddy, land races, and so on, they wanted to have appropriate technology at the household level to place it. So where the women, they can participate, and they can, this will create opportunity for earning income, reducing drudgery, and so on. They highlighted the reduction of drudgery is a very, very critical one, particularly for women in the case of NUS. Otherwise, they said very clearly, this is not going to happen. So appropriate technology, customized technology for the local communities are very critical. Next one, sir. And skill building. In case of Kolli Hills, they said the skill building of the tribal women that has created in terms of bringing it back. Next one. And branding. Of course, there are people, they said, people come from plains. They said, we did not have such opportunity. Like, where MSSR have worked with in a hilly region with those communities. They really, appreciated this kind of effort. Brand building, let it be based on the crop or from the community or from the local agroecology. Based on that, there will be a branding for forgotten foods and crops. That really helps. Next one. And again, this creating to business model for the local community, that helps. Next one. And the value-added product involving women. Next one. And they also express that in case of forgotten crops and foods, reviving it, create a local entrepreneurship involving youth, women, create small enterprises at the local level in the same agroecology. That will help in terms of creating interest, and wherever possible, tie up with the ecotourism opportunity. Next one. And the nutrition education for children in the tribal belt habitation, where the education system is there, try to inculcate the value of forgotten foods and crops. Such initiatives really helps. Here you could see Dr. Stefano in one of the picture here, and he had been the champion of NUS in the country. Next one. And campaigning. Campaigning as far as NUS is concerned, the campaigning of different kind. We started, in case of Kolli Hills, we started in way back in mid-90s. We started with the street theater, working with the farmer. Different methodology of campaigning for NUS was essential to valorize it and promote it. So such an opportunity that helps the local community institutions in terms of creating interest and popularizing it. Next one, please. And the federation. And always the federation, we see that looking at the productivity and market. But in case of forgotten crops, there is a need for instilling the value of conservers and conservers federation. So the conservation is the base one, and wherein we can promote the last one. And the policy environment is very critical in Tamil Nadu. We have created a lot of opportunity for custodian farmers to participate, to learn about the nuances of conservation and sustainable use. And the final one, I just wanted to show, and this is a book on the forgotten foods, jointly written by Stefano, myself, and Danny Hunter, and Professor Swaminathan. And this has got a kind of methodology that has been practiced in the last more than 15 years or so. And it requires, I feel that, still there is a need for refinement and, based on our environment and requirements. And in Tamil Nadu, there is currently enabling environment. Tamil Nadu in 2023, they have created 2 policy that applies to revival of both forgotten crops and nature positive solution, what Dr. Kala is talking about. Tamil Nadu has come out with the Tamil Nadu Organic Policy, Farming Policy 2023, and also they have created a millet mission in the state. So there is an environment, enabling environment. Tamil Nadu is the one state where they have pioneered, the valorization of forgotten foods. There is a partnership of private sector, community to the private sector. At all levels, we could be able to do that. But there was a gap from the policy side. Now in 2023, although we have done a lot of work, unless Professor used to say, unless there is no political will and policy support, nothing can be scaled up. There is an environment, and now we can work. I think I end here, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Oliver, again, also for that comprehensive discussion in a very, limited time. So again, there are reports that has been prepared, long documents, and we will make that available to those who will be interested. So we will take a 10-minute break. So we have coffee, tea, I think it's ready. And then we come back after 10 minutes. So we will have a few more discussion, and then we start the workshop. So please have some snacks, coffee, tea.
I got address to their shop. Now I'll go there and stuff. They have other states there.
So we have 2 minutes left. So those who already had their snacks, coffee, tea, I would like to invite you in the plenary hall. Okay, so please. Okay, after you have your coffee, you can bring, you can bring your snacks, coffee in the plenary hall. May I invite everyone here at the plenary hall, please? Okay, everyone. Okay, so let's start the next presentation. So everyone, please find your seat. You can bring your coffee, snack with you, no problem. Yeah, they cannot read the Okay, yes. Okay, so now that we have heard from the 4 states, the local level consultation result, we are giving some time for another partner, no? So they will also share the activities, the actions being done in Maharashtra. So I would like to call on Rajashri, yeah, to share briefly what they are doing in Maharashtra. So 5 minutes. Thank you. Maybe you can stay here. You understand?
Yeah. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. I am Dr. Rajeshri Joshi. I am based at head office of BIF Development Research Foundation. And BIF has been working in almost 14 states of India. And agriculture is the main kind of sector in which we have been working. And the entire work is around rural development and tribal development. And it is almost 5 decades of work. This is the 55th year that we are celebrated recently. So around agrobiodiversity conservation, we have a separate vertical developed now, and lot of work is being done under that. So I think this forgotten food, there was around these forgotten foods, the work was done within BIF, and that was in partnership with ICUC, that is International Center for Underutilized Crops. And that work was done way back in 2005 to 2008. And under that, lot of publications were also generated, and field actions, field evidences, research was also focused. So I think it was a suggestion by Dr. Carlo, and with CG, we are a partner in Maharashtra for the Nature Positive Solution Project. And yesterday we understood a little bit about Nature Positive Solution Project. So the Nature Positive Solution Project focuses on AWS, which is agrobiodiversity, water, soil, and there are different work packages. And within that work packages, the important is agrobiodiversity, conservation, management, land restoration, circularity. So I think all these kind of work packages and the commitments are in alignment with whatever we are discussing here on forgotten foods. So moving forward, I think there will be a lot that we will be discussing from the 2 days discussion or 1.5 day discussion. I just wanted to put forth some of the points that I thought would be necessary to consider. One is, I think we will be focusing on native tracts for those forgotten foods. So that I think Oliver also spoke about in situ conservation. So there is a thrust required for in situ conservation. So that is something we will be doing in a participatory manner. Apart from that, BIF has also developed a seed storage bank, cold storage unit. So at a central research station. So some of these germplasm can also be preserved there for long-term utility. So that will be for ex situ conservation. Apart from that, I think she spoke about fishes or fishery resources. So similarly, I want to highlight that even we have a prior experience, and while working in tribal areas, we need to focus on forestry trees also, tree species also, and fruit trees or wild vegetable plants. So my request again is, I think some of you are focusing, apart from millets or crops, can we focus on tree species, because then these are very, very resilient and it can go well with land restoration objective also. So there we are focusing on Garcinia, Mahua, Chironji. So these are various jackfruit. So I think these are many bale, angel, so these are the kind of trees on which we are focusing, and these are highly kind of value chain also can be developed, and economically important, ecologically also important, and also resilient. The second aspect I want to highlight is maybe we need to focus from our experience on habitat loss also, because most of these species or I think the habitat is under threat, and therefore I think along with the conservation of these resources, we need to focus on habitat loss also. The second is, I think somebody was just saying that these are not just crops, millets or any other things are not just crops, even the oil seeds. Like in Maharashtra itself, the flax seeds are there. The other type of oil seeds are there. So I think this is a cropping system. And therefore it is not only the crop, but cropping system that we need to conserve. And since we'll be working with the communities, I think based on what we have experienced, we need to also work on forgotten recipes or forgotten fruit dishes. Like for example, if we don't know how to harvest it, how to preserve it, how to process it, I think next generation will not be able to utilize it. So like somebody was saying, it is not only forgotten kind of species, but forgotten recipes. And my last thing is what we have experienced is there is very good scope for convergence. Now, there is a ecosystem, policy commitment is there. There are acts like Biodiversity Acts are there. Maharashtra State Biodiversity Board is there with whom we are working closely. Also, like she spoke about fishery. So for inland fishery, there is a need for desiltation of ponds. And for that, NREGS type of mechanisms can be harnessed. So there is a good scope of convergence. So that is something we can look at. Role of women, I think we all are working about. And we can use this opportunity of days celebration also, like 22nd May is a biodiversity day. So maybe together in a coordinated manner, we can plan certain things. One more example I will give of innovations which we can try to scale up. One is what we are doing in Mahua, for example, or other Chironji. We are also identifying plus trees. And these plus trees are identified based on the claims that farmers have been making. And there are almost 13 to 14 different types of claims that farmers are making. Even the scientists are not aware. And based on those claims, we are trying to have a kind of multiplication and nurseries and true to type species and innovative vegetative propagation. So I think this is also one important aspect needs to be focused. Also, there are challenges like gestation period. So can we have mechanism to reduce the gestation period so that flowering fruiting starts at in early stages, or like a little the period is reduced. So I think those kind of directions are also required. And my last this thing is that apart from this, I think the one of the nutritional challenges, one is yes, dietary diversity is not there. Availability, affordability, these are also the issue. Access, these are issues which we are trying to address. But one of the important area in nutrition or issues related to malnutrition is seasonal food deficit and year-round availability of diverse diet. So from that angle, my sincere request would be, maybe we need to look at different food groups, millets, maybe the fruit trees, wild vegetable plants, maybe fishery. So all these different food groups we can focus so that we can ensure the year-round availability of nutritious food for the families. So these are some of the learnings based on the kind of work we have done. We have almost 5 to 6 local seed banks established for, but these are for rice, millets, also oil seeds, pulses. These we have a network of genome saviors, and we have been recognizing Rahibai Popre. You must have heard, she is a Padma Shri recipient and she is our participant. She is working on beans and local seeds. One innovative entrepreneurship activity that we have taken up is all this Kalsubai Seed Savers group of women. They have made the indigenous seeds packet, and these packets are being sold like hotcakes for the urban terrace gardens. And these are all indigenous vegetables and creepers. And this is also enterprise, green enterprise, I would say. And that is also creating a financial incentive. Another example is in South Gujarat, we have started something called Nahari, which is an indigenous cuisine corner. So it was initially started as an eco-health research where we tried to understand the wild food resources that are consumed by tribal communities. And then we tried to understand a majority of it were coming from forest, and forests are in degrading state now. So the entire effort was taken for domestication of these wild food resources. And I think that itself requires a lot of work on innovative propagation, nurseries, also the package of practices, and also introduction at farmers' field. So that type of work is done. When we wanted to create an experience, the Nahari, which is an indigenous cuisine corner, that was started, and there the only tribal food is being served, ready to eat. So like Kamala is there, it is bakery products. We are having Nahari, which is like ready to eat, where the finger millet rotis, the bamboo shoot vegetables, so seasonal vegetables are being served. And that is making brisk business. And we have started chains of Naharis now. There are 9 such Naharis alongside the highways in South Gujarat. And this is very good example of research in use. It was not just a research, but that research is converted into extension also. And when we realize like it is most in demand, we have recently started Nahari on Wheels. So it is like a food truck completely managed by women. So there are ample opportunities. I think best practices are there and we can work around it. Maharashtra, I am happy Carlo has indicated that Maharashtra can also be added. It has got many tribal regions and where the biodiversity still prevails, and a lot of these forgotten foods are still there. I mean, elderly people are aware, Vaidus are aware, these traditional healers are aware, the Sacred Grove Trust are aware, and we can involve all of them in reviving some of these wild food resources and forgotten foods. So apart from millets, that is what was my sincere request. And we would be happy to be part of this this network. And whatever work we have done, best practices, we would be happy to share moving forward.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rajashri. So we're done with 5. So just few comments. Now we take in few comments.
Yeah, maybe just one addition. So we have done, so BIFE and Joshi team have done scoping studies for the Maharashtra. And so we will also share this with you because that has a lot of information on the agrobiodiversity and the interaction through focus group discussion with community members. I mean, probably it has a little bit of a different structure that was presented here, but it has similar type of information. So we'll also make sure that the scoping study reports will be shared with you.
Yes, I think that would really enhance further our collective action. So few more comments.
Yeah, just wanted to check if Gujarat is added. If not, if we can add that. And Maharashtra also, if we can link or the group that working.
Yes. So all the documents that we have, so we will consolidate and then create a mechanism where we can integrate all those outputs.
So I'm happy that somehow during this discussion, we are also able to focus on fisheries and like now ma'am said about forest produce. So one of the things which was highlighted during our consultation is Gujarat, but somehow we could not bring it here, was regarding the animal husbandry. So even with regards to cows, we have like local varieties, and already the research suggests that they have this A2, which is much better than A1 protein, and it's quite beneficial for the health. Already there is a lot of market here, there's a lot of price difference in the products made out of these desi cattle and animals. So I guess this should also be highlighted and included in this.
Thank you. So last comment.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Alessandro and Irish and Janet Esdell for giving invitation to me on behalf of YPART India. And I'm also working as a scientist senior scale in IARI, ICAR, New Delhi. I have some points here that what we can do further and what are the unexplored area for the unexplored food, like forgotten food. As the nutraceutical potential of the forgotten food that can be explored means so many biodiversities are here and we have the antioxidant properties for that. So can we extract the anthocyanin? Can we extract the carotenoid from that forgotten food? And these extracted pigments can be fortified in the chips or in other things so that processed food can be fortified with the antioxidant based materials so that in that way enriched biofortified food can be prepared. Similarly, this biodiversity rich plants have the extract of the pesticidal property and these organic pesticides can be prepared. Similarly, nutrient use efficiency can be increased. Means the plant extract of the same can be used to decrease the urease inhibition activity, nitrification inhibition activity. So in that way, can we increase the mitigation effect of the greenhouse gases? So this plant extract can be used in the different field. Similarly, the second area of this these plants are the rich in the polyphenols and the bioactive compounds. So their property can also be used for development of fluorescent carbon dots. So there are another area where nanoparticles can be prepared from this biodiversity rich forgotten foods. And second area that we are developing processed food. What about the status of the accredited lab where it can be checked and it can be exported to the foreign country by keeping the regulatory norms of the different countries. And third area, we all are talking about the seed material, but we have the rest material, that is the waste. Can we convert that waste into the ethanol, bioethanol, bioenergy, biorefinery, and any other purposes? Can we change this waste as this waste material as a resource of the lignocellulose? So can we convert this property for the bioethanol purposes? So we can look these other aspects also, instead of only we are looking for the, yes, these are the resource of the nutrient, but can we extract that nutrient from the plant? So we can look for this activity also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish, for also sharing your recommendation. So we have, I think, a hand raise virtually or online. So Dr. Syed, please go ahead. If you can please unmute. Okay, while waiting, so we will have 4 more short presentation before we move on to the group work. So we will have 2 big rooms. So one room will be on the 6th floor. So we will be divided into 4 groups. So we will let you know who will be going up on the 6th floor this morning. And then in the afternoon, those who are on the 6th floor will come here. And then the 2 groups in the morning here will go up now. So unmuted. Okay, so yes, Professor Syed, please go ahead. If you can turn on your video so that they can unmute. Okay, I think it's good to go.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, my camera is not working, but I wanted to just amplify that excellent point about fortification. And if I can link that with an earlier point about fisheries, I think there are 2 opportunities here where we think of forgotten foods on their own, but in fact they can complement, they can supplement ingredients from mainstream crops. I mentioned this yesterday, but the idea that we can make healthier, more nutritious foods using ingredients from underutilized or forgotten foods, and then add to the traditional diet or the traditional foods people are already eating, or conventional foods people are eating. There's a market opportunity for ingredients from forgotten foods that can be used in new formulations. So I think that was the point that was just made. And I think, fortified foods is an important area of nutrition, which I think is a contrast to biofortification of mainstream crops, that we can fortify ingredients that will actually give a dietary diversity as well as a demand for underutilized or forgotten foods. The point about fisheries is we can actually use ingredients from forgotten foods as substrate for instance, insect meal for black soldier fly, in which we can actually again get a demand for these ingredients that can be used to feed black soldier fly to replace fish meal, to create feeds for aquaculture. And in this sense, again, farmers will have a demand for the growth of these underutilized or forgotten foods as substrate, as ingredients to produce aquaculture feed. So again, they don't have to be final products, they have to be ingredients in a circular economy. So I think we should just think about forgotten foods as well as final products as ingredients and supply chains and supplements to ingredients that we already have. And then we have still got a demand for these products but they needn't be in the final form. They can be as ingredients in novel foods and novel feeds. That was my point. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Said. That's a very concrete recommendation, and I hope the technical people who will be leading the discussion later are also taking note of those recommendations. But yes, definitely it will again. I'm sure it will come out again during the breakout session. Those opportunities. So now, where are we in our session for this morning? So we are now done with session 4.1. We have the presentation of the scoping report, and then we're done with 4.2, presentation of the local level consultation results from the 4 districts or states. And then now, before we move to the breakout session, I just want to again show the objectives that we want to achieve in this collective action. And again, the objectives, it can be revised. No, we can improve that based on the rich discussion that we had. But we will show you again how it is framed at the moment. So can we first look at the second slide? Okay, so I think yesterday we have been hearing a lot of the potential of NUS, forgotten crops, or traditional indigenous food crops, and I think there's a lot of emphasis on why they are important. Next, and then we are saying that these NUS, or forgotten food, or traditional crops, or potential crops, it is a solution to the problem that we have now. So many mentioned about the challenges of our current food system, and the malnutrition, the food insecurity, the climate change impact. So we are saying that NUS, forgotten foods, can be a solution. However, we have to recognize also that there are challenges. While we recognize the potential, we also have to recognize the challenges that we have to address or overcome. And in our proposal, in the draft project proposal, we have identified some of these bottlenecks that we need to consider when we are implementing and designing this project. So let's have a look on the next slide. So we use some of the earlier studies done, and we have consolidated a number of bottlenecks that we have to consider when we implement the process, the steps, so that towards our objective and goal. So these are some of the challenges listed, but I know there are more. So inherent low productivity, low economic viability of NUS as compared to the other high value crops. Also lack of enabling policy, but we have seen earlier that there are actually policies already in place. So maybe what we need to do is awareness raising on the policies and how we can make use of these policies to support our initiative. And then there's limited support from the research and development institutions for crop improvement, and there's inadequate infrastructure for NUS, and then unavailability of low-cost technologies for processing and value addition, and also low interest from the younger generation, and there is unfavorable perception of NUS and unavailability of good quality seeds. So I know there are more challenges in promoting NUS, in promoting it as a solution to our food insecurity, malnutrition issues that we are facing now, but we have identified these in our draft proposal. Next slide. And also in our proposal, we have emphasized a lot on farmers network, on building the capacity of farmers organization, of individual farmers, so they can really play a role in the value chain development using an action research approach, and farmer network or farmer researchers involved in the campaign and marketing, and in the advocacy. So we have some, in the proposal, we have some examples of what has been achieved through farmer networks working with research institutions and development agencies. So yesterday we heard from the Pacific Experience, how the farmers organization collaborated with different agencies. We also have some examples from Sri Lanka. And of course, we have the SEWA model, the Rudy, the Kamla, and also we have some good cases from the other states. So we have emphasized a lot in our proposal on building really these farmers network so they can engage in research along the value chain from production, pre-production to marketing, and how these farmer networks can be aware of the policies that they can use to engage with at the state level and then at the national level with policymakers and program planners. We have also evidence, we have described some evidence that if development projects work with farmer networks or farmer organizations, they can actually achieve multiple outcomes. So there are evidence that when working with farmers organization, the outcome can be beyond even income, but really empowering the individual farmers. So we also did a farmer survey, as I have mentioned, and these are the recommendations that came out from the farmer perception survey. So yeah, I will not discuss this in detail. Next slide. Okay, so now, after considering the inputs from the local level consultation and after doing the farmer survey, we tried to craft the long-term goal for this project. But again, we have heard so much from these past 2 days so far, which can further enhance these goals and objectives and even the focus area. If you have noticed, we use the word catalog at the moment, value chain, advocacy, campaign marketing as our components of the project or focus area. But I think this can be further expand after we have the workshop later. So feel free to suggest other components that we should incorporate in the project design. But for now, this is the long-term goal that we want. As I have mentioned, it's not just unlocking the potential of the crop, but we want to unlock, we have the potential of the crop, but we also have to look at the farmers, the custodian farmers, their capacities to develop the full value chain of the crop that they wanted, to build their capacities, to improve, to do also crop improvement with the researchers, and their capacity to engage at the policy level. So we have the crop, we have the custodian farmers, and we have the farming system. So those are the things that we want to consolidate, and hopefully, it can achieve the bigger goal that we have written. And then next, I think here you will see the national level objective that we have written. So this collective action, we want to contribute to agrobiodiversity conservation and also reliance of the national programs or recognition of the local food systems as solution to changing the food system that we have now. And then of course incentivizing smallholder farmers and their recognizing their unique practices. And then the next slide will show you again the outcomes that we want to achieve for each group. We have written there that for farmers, we hope that this collective action will really have an impact on farmers' income and of course resilience at the farm level, and then hopefully because of the partnership, the collaboration that we will have, and by engaging multiple players, that farmers will have access to the needed technologies, and so they can further, sustain the traditional indigenous food that they have in an agroecological manner. And then, of course, for research scientists, academics, we hope that the capacity to engage on co-research, co-innovation will be enhanced. And then for, I think the next slide will show you the outcomes that we hope. Of course, we want to bring, these potential forgotten crops to the urban communities. I think there are so many ideas already how to do this. So I hope the technical people have incorporated this in their documentation. And then last, the next slide, these are the specific objectives that we have written in the draft proposal. So the first objective is to strengthen the capacities of stakeholders, farmers and their organization, the value chain actors, researchers, policymakers to unlock the potential of news, the custodian farmers, and the farming system to improve nutrition income and to adapt to climate change. So objective 1, later you will see the activities that we have proposed, we have written to achieve these objectives. So for example, in one of the focus area, one of the component, we have their capacity building activities, both for farmers, researchers. So those are just example of the activities that we have written to achieve this objective. Of course, not just at the individual level, but capacities at the organizational level as well. And then second objective, foster collaborations and partnerships. So there are concrete activities that we have proposed to achieve this objective. And then objective 3, influence decision makers and program planners. So we have the activities under advocacy and policy influencing. And then objective 4 is about boosting the demand for forgotten foods. So we have the campaign and marketing component that will contribute to achieving this objective. So objective 5, and scale up farmer-driven research and innovation. So basically, we have these big objectives, but our approach in some of the components will be participatory action research. So there will be components that will use this particular methodology. And then, so that is the set of objectives that we have at the moment. So if you have any comments, we open the floor for 5 minutes.
I have just a small thing to add. Can we go back to the slide for the long-term goals? The slide after the long-term goals. Okay? Yeah. So no, just throughout the presentation, I have a problem with the terminology. When we are using the term farmers time and again, we are actually nullifying all the other stakeholders. So I would suggest if we use the term food producers, so that will actually be all encompassing, like everyone who is producing food. So if you are, since the topic of our discussion is fostering collective action on forgotten food, so if you use the term food producers, that will actually open up a larger space for everyone to, contribute. So that is one of my suggestions.
Okay, yes, thank you. So any other reaction on the objectives, on the outcomes?
Thank you. I think on the outcomes, when it relates to the farmers, can go. Yeah, no, one up. Yeah, I think also there should be another objective, which is to increase the agency of the farmers and farmers groups to influence policies, and so make their voices more heard in the policy process development.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. So we will give prominence to that as well, like decision making, their involvement in capacity to engage in decision making processes. Thank you. Any other comments, So for those who are online, we have also shared with you the link to the project brief that has these objectives, goals. Feel free to write them in writing. But for those who are here who wanted to suggest on how it is phrased, what are the other important elements that we should mention, feel free to also write, and then you can hand over to us so that we can consider when we rephrase how it is at the moment.
Thank you very much. Maybe it's a semantic point, but yesterday we briefly touched upon the SDG framework, and your long-term goal very rightly focuses on SDG 1 and 2. But I think that this is such an important initiative that it actually touches upon several SDGs. I mean, I can see, the prominence of women producers here, for instance. That's straight away SDG 5. There's such a lot of talk about value distribution along the value chains, etc. That's SDG 10. So I would suggest that we say something like that we're addressing SDGs with a particular focus on SDG 1 and 2, so that we don't undermine the fact that the SDGs are a coherent, interlinked framework. I am also wondering whether the World Cafe would be an important entry point for us to also discuss the nomenclature of forgotten foods, more in the context of the campaign and the policy influence that we're going to look for. It's precisely because of the connotations of the term forgotten. I think this has been debated quite a bit in the past. I think we need to look for a better way. Maybe the communications experts like Pooja, etc., could suggest. Dr. Syed was mentioning novel, for instance. That's an interesting terminology in terms of looking for crops for the future. We were talking about blending, fortification, etc. So we'll probably be dealing through this initiative with new foods and novel foods, etc., which has a future forward-looking kind of content to it, and not backward-looking or the negativity that's associated with forgotten foods. Back to you. Sorry for taking.
No, thank you. That's I think, very concrete suggestion, no, on even the rephrasing the overall outcomes that we're actually contributing to several, agenda, but in particular, these are the SDG 1 and 2 are important for farmers, and this is where we really want to address, poverty and food hunger and malnutrition. But yes, definitely. We are contributing to many of the SDGs. Thank you. And yes, the World Cafe will create that space really to be more in detail, like how do we really do the campaign, given the so many ideas already that we have discussed. So it's more of really deliberating, how we move forward, how do we package these forgotten foods or novel food. Okay, so before we break, so I will just introduce the technical people for each of these components. At the moment, we limit it to the 4, but I'm sure it will expand once we revise the overall project strategy. So for the catalog of priority forgotten foods, or NUS, as mentioned, this catalog is not really, it's a vehicle so that we can start somewhere. So we need, for this phase, or for the next 5 years, we need to have a proposal, like when we work on value chain, when we work on crop improvement, where do we start? Which NUS should we be focusing on for the next, maybe for the first phase of this project. So that's basically the idea why we said that we will go through prioritization, but yes, we will keep on expanding, I think, once we have that process in place. No? So we will use this catalog so that the mechanism for partnership will start, and so that, of course, we get investment. So this is the idea why we would have to have some priority for this phase. And then for the second output, for the first output, it would be Dr. Oliver. So he will lead the discussion. And then for the second, for the value chain development of the priority NUS, it will be Mega Ben from SEWA. And then for the campaign marketing, it will be Nitin and Dr. Piyush. So they will lead the discussion. And then for advocacy policy, it would be Dr. Varaprasad on way forward. So before we start, I would like to invite them and just briefly describe what we have. What we have there are broad activities. It's really more of a steps or process. And the detail will come in on how do we do the process, or how do we facilitate the process. So can we show that slide? Next. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so if we can enlarge. So Dr. Oliver, you have just 5 minutes to go through.
So thanks, Irish. So this is for the activity pillar number 1, which is related to cataloging of NUS or forgotten crops and foods and species. It cuts across varied agroecology. So the concept, the proposal that draws attention of specifically smallholder systems and the women and the marginal farmers, those who are depending on their the cultural diversity aligned with their food system. So that is precisely the point. And the struggle they have been facing to retain it or revalorize it. So that is the context in which we are trying to understand what is the contemporary reality of the status of NUS in 2023. So we have done a lot, but in terms of going forward, what community per se they are actually saying. So that this morning we also looked at what we have done through the community consultation process in 4 districts. But as a proposal going forward, what would be this methodology in terms of cataloging and prioritization? It is prioritized by whom? It essentially prioritized by the community, essentially the farmers and the food producers she was talking about. But we wanted to really pitch it farmers, artisanal fisheries, fishermen communities, and so on. They are the primary producers of food, and they are the conservers and conservers and retainers of their food system. So this process, this proposal where it is a participatory action research, and also it's a research for development sort of a proposal, where the primary producers, they could be from the tribal community, or they could be from the rain-fed farmers or marginal and smallholders. The women they produce, the custodian farmers. That is the typology of who is going to be participating. And number 2, it is about the knowledge system, the traditional knowledge related to crop, traditional knowledge related to species, traditional knowledge related to culinary diversity. That has really helped them in terms of retention even today. So that is the context in which the cataloging will happen. So the entire discourse, the entire proposition is pillared on what is going to be finally prioritized. So that is the point, and why we wanted to why they wanted to prioritize it, and what other stakeholder actors in the value chain, let it be scientist or a policymaker or a private actors or any other enablers in the value chain, going to contribute in terms of revalorization and further leading to mainstream. That is in a way in which actually the proposal is being pitched. So coming to this particular activity pillar number 1, we have identified the last 2 years in the process of development. Irish was talking about, we have conducted a survey widely across regions, and we have conducted the community consultation, and also there is a enough research has been also gone. So taking all these account, we have actually identified about 5 activity lines. Primarily, agrobiodiversity mapping with the farmers. There is a methodology that we did not have time to do it on the ground. It's a five square analysis of what is actually threatened, what is minimally used, what are the NUS species actually being cultivated in scale and whatnot. That methodology we did not use, but that will be also integral part of this one. And then prioritization by the farmers based on participatory assessment methodology, and then why they wanted to use it, whether it is for their production system or food system or for markets. So what is the driver for prioritization? The third one is mapping and documentation of varieties and indigenous practices. Nitin always talks about it is not only the species or variety per se. Again, we are not getting into the homogenization process. It should be a diversification process where the community knowledge system per se needs to be documented. And it can come from the oral tradition, not necessarily a written tradition. They have to share, and that has to be documented, and how this is helpful for the local community in terms of retaining their agroecology intact or using that agroecology in favor of forgotten crops and foods. And the 4, synthesizing the existing research on the prioritized crop. So there were some references today also regarding the nutritional profiling. There is an immense untapped potential of NUS crops, nutraceutical food and adaptive preferences and so on. What is the existing research vis-a-vis in that particular agroecology? That will be also part of this cataloging and prioritization. Then further field testing. Once that is done, then we get into action. We also talked about PVS as a methodology, participatory varietal selection as a methodology, and participatory evaluation of scientist and farmers-based production system. There is a methodology and so on. That will help in terms of field testing by farmers. Then finalization. There is a concept of triangulation is also involved in this process. It is not from one particular community in a given ecology. That will be also triangulated and cross-checked and validated by different primary producer group. They can be drawn from women, from aging, different age groups, and also the youth also needs to understand and agree, and also the women they needs to participate, and other stakeholder actors. So there is a need for triangulation. So this is a methodology we pitched in the proposal currently. So during the World Cafe, we will have an opportunity to look at the nuances of what can be done in addition to what we have been proposing it. I stop here and I will share.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Oliver, for clearly describing the process, at least the key steps that we have in the proposal. So Mega Ben for the value chain development.
So in earlier, I think there is a hand raised by Alessandro Bai. So shall we take first that? Or?
Okay, now or okay. So there is a hand raise online, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to make a general comment, but I can also refer to what Oliver has just said. Let me just make the general comment, then I go to the specific. I just wanted to make sure that we keep in mind that this is an action research, and you mentioned it several times, Irish. I would also add an action research project. So maybe action research and training project. So the training dimension is also important, which means, I mean, what is the meaning of action research training? I think is that we are experimenting, exploring, testing and refining methodologies and processes of co-innovation and co-research. So I think the focus is really this, experimenting, exploring, testing, refining, and possibly also co-generating methodologies and processes of co-innovation or co-research. And the purpose is that these methodologies can be generalized and scaled up within India and outside. So I like to also highlight the international dimension of what we're doing to the extent possible. But again, focusing on the deliverable, which is more a model, a way to do things, how to do things, than the things themselves. So my first point would be, if it's possible to highlight the upscalable deliverables in the work cafes. So let's say the research products that we can upscale. So it's very important to be in the do dimension. And now I turn to the example of Oliver. Absolutely, it's the catalog, do the catalog, but it's also important to highlight how the catalog can be done in a participatory way. So it's both. We need to have the deliverable, the catalog, but also how the catalog can be done in a participatory way, in a co-innovation and co-research way. And so this is the first point. The second point that I still would like to stress is the importance of, and you again highlighted it, Irish, the importance of farmers' empowerment, but maybe not identifying it in a particular output, but as a cross-cutting dimension of all the thematic areas that we deal with. So again, I would like to advocate and suggest that to the extent possible, every work cafe, every work group integrates the empowerment dimension as a deliverable, you see, so that it's a cross-cutting issue and explains how this empowerment is going to be ensured through the activities that are being focused. So again, activities, concrete deliverables, but also models, way of doing, and in particular empowerment, the empowerment dimension. And I like to add to Shantanu's SDGs, you know, the reference to these famous, now famous SDG 0 that I'm trying to advocate for, because it's a cross-cutting SDG that we need to take into consideration. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Alessandro. So when we do the World Cafe, so I hope that the technical people will always remember our overarching outcomes, no? What are we trying to achieve, so that the process, no, will actually contribute to those outcomes that we have identified. Thank you, Alessandro, for emphasizing that. Okay, yes.
Namaste, everyone. So on second component of value chain development for priority FF and NUS, we have, it's a larger component, and there are several value chains. If we talk about the own food security, it is a shorter supply chain. And if we talk about the selling and all, we have to see which kind of supply chain and the value chains takes place. And there are several stages on that. And as we say that this is a farmer-led, and we have to ensure that how, of course, we partner, but partnership in a way that the farmers, they higher up in the value chain. So they don't remain as producers, but we all know that the youth from the farming community, currently they do not like, so how we can involve them in hiring up the value chain. And so currently there are limited activities, but yesterday also we discussed more, and we hope that all the partners bring in more activities on these, considering the pathway that, of course, we want to see the value chain. We have to ensure the climate resilient, sustainable, and upscalable value chains. And together with that, how we can enhance the capacities of the farmer so that they can hire upon the value chain. The current activities that have been identified are modified value chain analysis. So what is the current status? Market appraisal. Second activity is about the farmer research joint activities. And in that, there is a development of the field guides and tools, training of farmer master trainers and extension agents to understand what are the policies and how they can link, training of researchers that how participatory research, bringing the farmers on table can be done, formation of the strengthening of the learning groups. We can also see the exchanges, then implementation of the action research activities involving the farmers and all of the partners. And the third major activity is linking with the Rudy cooperatives and SMEs. These are some of the models. There may be some other models, maybe we can bring in. There was a fishery as well. There was a geotagging that we heard. There was a talk about from Odisha or maybe Meghalaya, that how we can do branding and all. So all these, please bring in on the table and we can see how we can strengthen the value chain. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mega Ben. So next on campaign and marketing. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Who want to go? Yeah, please.
Online.
Okay. So yes, online hand raise, please go ahead.
Okay, then this is me.
Okay. Yeah, Professor Sayed, go ahead.
Oh, hi. I want to just emphasize on Alessandro's point and just really reiterate his point about this being a collective action. And as a collective action, this is unique. This is the first global effort on forgotten foods. And I think we should remember, whilst we focus on specific activities in each of our locations, what is the how we did it in one place that can be applied elsewhere? This is not just extrapolating from one place to another, but the learning messages from one place that we can actually shortcut or encourage others to do similar things because they know from our experience how we did it. And I think this is how the collective action will have global impact. And if I just think, I mean, I'm here in Europe, which is hungry for disruption in its agricultural systems, and it can learn from the South, it can learn from the case studies and the examples that you're developing in India. And the how will be really very important because the crops won't be the same, the foods won't be the same, but the way that we do it will be an example for others to actually adopt so that we can actually fast track this global effort. That's how we'll achieve the SDGs, and that's how we'll get global impact of forgotten foods rather than our very important local impacts. But without the how factor, we will if you like, repeat the mistakes or repeat the experience we have to do at each location without the experience we've gained elsewhere. So I would suggest in each workshop that we actually take notes of how we've done it, simply so that we've got a checklist of what we would do if we did it again somewhere else. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We have two more. Yes.
The value addition as well. Because in the value chain, if you really want to upgrade, I saw that there was a gap. It's mostly just research. But you know, the kind of piloting and value addition through processing is an area which is a gap I found within the system.
Sure, there are so many missing parts and that we want to strengthen. So on the table, if you can bring that, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, and one more here.
Yeah, so another thing regarding the marketing activity. So basically, I'm engaged with various youth campaigns on social media. So day in, day out, I'm in regular interaction with a lot of youths. So what we all are thinking about is how to incorporate the youths into farming. But I guess what we should focus on is how to utilize the power of the youth in order to promote farming. Not to get them into the field, but to promote what is happening in the field. So youth is very much active on social media. I myself am a food blogger. So coming from that community, if I talk about them, The food bloggers, they do not cook, but they promote cooking. They are actually promoting the restaurants. And if I'm mentioning restaurants, these are high-end restaurants who are actually promoting these forgotten foods. So we have to tap their energy into marketing. We are thinking how to convert the youth into farmers. No, we are to use them in marketing. Another stakeholder I would like to include, when we talk about food, we are talking about trust and culture. And we talk about trust, the medical practitioners, the doctors, the dietitians, the pediatricians, if they start prescribing these foods, these food values, it will be more and more effective and acceptable by the larger audience. The academics and the NGOs cannot go on telling people to eat them. But once the doctor prescribes them or advises them to include these foods in their diet, they are going to believe it, and it will be more effective in the implementation area. When we are talking about activities, the right next step comes is implementation. So when we talk about implementation, I guess if you include them,
It will be, it will be part later, no, of the
So,
small
yeah.
cafe. So let's first
Thank you.
go on, no, and then we split for the detailed discussion.
But thank you for setting up the context. This is exactly what we are going to be addressing in the next vertical. As you can see, this is the campaign and marketing leading to valorization of NUS or forgotten food. So in fact, like we have to talk about all these strategies when we will get onto the tables, and your these comments are very, very valuable. And I will urge different groups to bring in different kind of ideas, and just don't restrict yourself to just one type of messaging, because we are talking about different kind of communities and different type of people that we have to reach out to, means even urban consumer versus rural consumer as well as producers. So how can we use different strategies apart from social media, and also like some of the other mediums that we can utilize? Sometimes we get constrained by our own imaginations or what is happening around us. But definitely that is the vertical that we will be talking about. I just want to highlight on 2 points. One point which Dr. Varaprasad mentioned in the morning, that there is a lot of economic value in the forgotten food, but how to realize that value. And that he pointed out, like awareness and branding and communication are the key to unlock that potential. And we all understand that agar dikhega nahi to bikega nahi, right? So that's like a kind of a term used in advertisement, that you have to really make it talk. And at times we understand branding from a point of view of like, a kind of a name being given or a packet being designed, but it is slightly more deeper than that. And I guess like we need to spend some more time understanding that it is actually not only the name, but it is the value, the trust, the type of emotion that we are bringing out with this knowledge system. So in fact, this catalog is not just a catalog, it is basically a knowledge system, as Alessandro mentioned. It is something which is very profound. So we all should be proud of it. And how can we really make everyone connected to this? Be proud of the content, and at the same time bring it out in a way that it is very high value. It is not something that is just a kind of a produce, but it is basically a knowledge that we are preserving and knowledges that we are transferring. So we will be talking about it more and more. And I would urge different groups, the farmer groups, as well as the researcher groups, to bring in a lot of ideas in these different activities. The setting up the context, what are the different contexts in which we will be producing or selling these products, and mapping of any initiatives that you would know of that we can include, that we can learn from. The second activity is about identification of the target audience. We know that there are national, regional, as well as international audiences, and we need to target them with different kind of messaging. So that is something which we need to realize. Also, how would we understand the awareness perspective from a short-term, long-term perspective?
So there can be some short-term goals and long-term goals that we can set up for ourselves. So we will be discussing, and I would urge you to bring in more ideas on that. Then there are some fantastic initiatives from the partners, from NESFAS. They have done a very interesting way of representing the forgotten food knowledge in form of small posters with a lot of nutritional information. Very attractive posters these are, and I would urge Dr. Pius to share it sometime in the conference. We can take inspiration from that. There are many radio shows which has been done by Seva, and there are posters being done. So I think we can take inspiration from that. The book that Dr. Oliver has showcased is another way of documenting perspectives. So I guess we can even understand those type of initiatives and can actually further that knowledge, I guess. So that is also we need to understand from each of these organizations, how can we strengthen their initiatives and make it more popular. With that, I will stop it here and then.
Yes, thank you. Very, very clear description of the current process we have there. So Dr. Veraprasad for the last
but not the least. So one is actually in policy, I request all of you to actively participate because this policy has to come from the ground level. So when we talk of global framework, several examples are there. ITPGRFA first talked about farmers' rights. We have PPFRA. UPOV is there. We have taken varietal protection. CBD is there. We have Biological Diversity Act. Now think of that broad global framework that is required, which will come from the ground level. Please give suggestions to this global framework. Then the second is national level. India, we have given all the examples. All set, everything is there, but there's nothing on the plate. So we would like to put it on the plate. How you use the existing policy. Please come up with suggestions for the schemes, for the policy to be worked out not only at national level, but also at the state level, sometimes at the even district level. The implementation is possible if favorable environment is there. Please give that. Then the few just tips for you are that seed system policy, what should be the policy? Think of it, suggest it. You have the food, regarding the food policy, safety, or any popularizing the foods, what kind of policy you need. Then you have the value chains. What is the policy required? Like US has got crop corridors. Where do you put the equipment? What policy you need? For climate change, existing policy, how do you go about it? And for the research and education, agro-ecotourism, water use, nutritional security, crop diversification, ecosystem services, carbon credits, agroforestry with trees. So many areas we have some broad policy, but the implementation is not there. How do you take it forward? What are your suggestions? This is what is requested. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Veraprasad. So now we go into the small groups. So what time check? Okay, so we have just one discussion before we break for lunch. So, okay, so this will be for Dr. Oliver, discussion on the prioritization, cataloging of forgotten foods or, yes, so they will be here. So I would like to call on the group 1 who will be here for the first round, no? So what will happen is we will have 2 groups here, and then we will have 2 groups on the 6th floor. And for the first round, 40 minutes, so you discuss, and then after 40 minutes, you move on to the next table. Whoever is there will move on here. No, so same thing will happen on the 6th floor. And then in the afternoon, those who are here will go to the 6th floor, and those who are in the 6th floor will also will come here. So that means you will go through all the this discussion, no? All 4, okay? So we start. So for I will call group 1. So it will be Tangarasu. So you will be here with Dr. Oliver for the first round, and Mr. Shiva Kumar will stay here. Mr. Vikram, Raimati, Tapas, Nestor, Sanyasi Rao, Puja, Fiba, Naina, Kailash, and Mira. So please come here in this table. No, you can form a circle. And then group 2 will be the regional agencies, researchers, academics here. So Esther, Dr. Rida, Professor Nirmala, Professor Jayanta, Rakesh, Rajashri, Carlo, Paula, Shantanu, Ashish, and Melo Dinya. So please be here with Mega Ben for the first. Okay, so for our online participants, you can take a break, and then we will convene for plenary. We will, maybe if we can type the time, so you can join us during the plenary discussion. So feel free to comment on the, you can provide comments in writing so that our documentors will take note of that. So we will reconvene after 3 hours from now. So group 3 would be for campaign. So please go with Nitin, Kapila Ben, Jotsna Ben, Krishna, Ali Yabay, Reshma, Tara, Manjula, Hasumati, Gita, Jignasha, Bavi, Snehababen. Jashumati, yeah. Please, here, come here, in this area. So, sir, join. And then, okay, and then Dr. Varaprasad and Sasi, you will go to the 6th floor. 6th floor. Jashi Ben, Rita Ben, Kiran Ben. Maybe someone will. Can you read this? Yeah.
તો ગ્રુપ 4 માં આપણા બહેનો જશીબેન તમે ગ્રુપ 4 માં પારાપ્રસાદ ભાઈ જોડે, રીટાબેન જયસ્વાલ, કિરણબેન પરમાર, હિનાબેન દવે, હિનાબેન, ગીતાબેન, મનીષબેન, પવનબા, ભાવનાબેન, રૂપાલીબેન અને ભાવિનીબેન. આ બધા ગ્રુપ 4 માં છે. ગ્રુપ આ રહી અહીંયા. હા, એમની જોડે. હા, they are going with them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I will be there.
Yes. હા, 4 નંબર. પેલા ભાઈ જોડે ખબર છે ને? 4. હવે 2 કલાક ઝૂમ બંધ. ખાલી આમના મને રેકોર્ડ કર. હા.
We're going to do it after lunch, so people will have to stay now, no? We're having
No,
lunch first.
we are doing one group,
Yes.
one session.
Okay.
Then 3 after.
Okay, in 40 minutes. It's lunch.
Yes, after 40 minutes.
So,
This is important. We have started export. So, as we will
કયો ગ્રુપ છે કયો ગ્રુપ છે ગીતાબેન કચ્છના ચોથા ગ્રુપમાં છે.